Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hingham Historic Districts Commission. This is August 15th, Thursday. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First piece of business, as always, is to go through the voting members for tonight. So there's 5 of us here on the commission. Voting members would be Virginia, myself, and Ronnie. And then if we could add Justin and Ben as the 4th and 5th for the applications tonight, that would be great. I know, Virginia, you were out last time, so
Yeah.
when we talked about 118 South Street and 219 Main Street. So on those two, if you want to comment on those, you're welcome to. But we'll just, as far as the voting, we'll take the 4 of us will do the vote.
Understand.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, and then are there any applications where any of us need to recuse themselves or have a conflict with anything?
No.
Okay. All right, good. We've got some minutes. We'll talk about those at the end. And why don't we just start off with Kevin and Marie are here again on 272 North Street, and they would like to construct some stairs, replace some stairs on the property, right, and talk a little bit about the
I think in your package you've got
the project
what we're talking about replacing. And it's a pressurized wood stair that was put in about 11 years ago. I believe it was meant to be temporary. It's certainly not in keeping with the house. And from this particular view, you can see that they never did finish the fascia board clapboards running across, because I think their intention was to continue to run this further back. And that's exactly what we'd like to do, but what we're proposing is to kind of get it back to have the stairs kind of come this way instead of sideways, partly because now we have a retaining wall and the stairs walk right into the wall, and we have to come out this way, but that's really the way it used to be. So we're just want to replace this pressurized wood porch with a more appropriate and usable, and make it a little bigger than it is now. Not the stairs themselves, but the deck. The stairs right now are 44 inches wide. We're going to keep them at that same width, but they're going to come down, as I say, this way instead of sideways. Not sure exactly. The topography's changed a little bit since you did your walk around because of the retaining wall, so it may be 6 steps down instead of 5 currently. I'm not sure, depending upon the width of the tread, they might be able to, but it'll be no wider than it is now. The proposed landing on the top is currently 4.5 feet wide, which is kind of tight, and we want to widen that to 6 feet, which is really just a small 1.5 feet wider, but will allow us to have, I think, clear access. 2 people can walk without, having to step aside and walk to the back of the house. We're planning on putting a screened porch, which you won't see at all from the street, which will give us more outdoor access. And there'll be a shed roof off the back, and we're taking a window out and turning it into a slider with the same farm, 2/2 mullions that are in keeping with the rest of the windows in the house. So the rail system we're proposing, and I think I handed that book to you. I think that's used a lot. It's basically it's a mahogany rail that will stain to match the decking, and it comes with a material that is paintable, and we would paint that. It comes pre-primed, and you can paint it in any color, but it's as I say, given the new topography, which is why I handed out the new, what this looks like with the fence that just went in, I think on Monday or Tuesday. When you see from the back, and from the front, you really probably can't even see the project, any longer from the street, because it is 6 foot tall, and I wasn't sure exactly, what you'd see or what you won't see, but I think you might see somebody's head when they walk out the door, but I don't think you'll see the actual deck itself any longer. But we are going to use these mahogany rails. It's a very nice system. As I say, the balusters will be pre-primed and ready to paint. And for the actual decking itself, I've used this iPay many, times in the past, and it is kind of high maintenance, especially if you put rock salt on it in the winter, and you really have to, power wash it and kind of refinish it pretty much every spring. And I'm trying to get away from that. And so this may not be something that you're used to seeing, but we went to Cape Cod Lumber and saw all these wide demonstration of different floorings material. And there's something called Zuri decking, which is a Canadian-made polymer product, and it's textured to look exactly like real wood. And I'm pretty much of a purist. I wouldn't want anything that didn't look right, and I don't like the look of Trex and some of those kind of fabricated things that really are very textured and vinyl looking. But it's totally non-maintenance, and as I get older, I don't really want to get out there and have to worry too much about it. It's slip resistant, and I just think it's going to be much more, you won't see it, I don't think at all from the street, but it's just going to be something that I can have go right into the porch area and just have one consistent surface that will be low maintenance and still look pretty good. The area below from the landing down to the ground, we're just going to do shiplap board. And we're going to have some cut-ins where there'll be basically concealed storage. So there'll just be, some will be on hinges so I can put garbage cans and lawn mowers and things that are now, I don't really have any place to put them, will be concealed underneath the deck with that shiplap. He'll just put some hinges in and be done with it. So at the end of the day, and this is kind of what the railing system looks like, I think I put that in your package. So this is mahogany, and you just wind up staining it. You could stain it any color you want. It's unstained mahogany. And the decking would look, and I think I put a copy of the flooring material in there as well, this is really exactly what it looks like. It looks exactly like and feels like real wood. This color is pecan, and it's probably what we would use. And I wouldn't normally pick pecan, but it really looks very nice. It's the nicest of the trims they have. The contractor we use is the same fellow that built this fireplace, which we have. It's all made out of reclaimed antique chestnut wood from a barn. I don't know if a few of you might have seen it. He did a beautiful job, and his forte is decking and porches. He really does a ton of them in Cape Cod, and kind of as you get down further on the South Shore, Plymouth, he's got a resume that of jobs he's done that are really fabulous, very high-end housing. And I've got a lot of confidence in him, and he can start right away, which is good, so I can kind of get this done and maybe enjoy a little fall in the porch. So it's going to be a 30-day job to do the whole thing, from soup to nuts. But as I say, the fence, which we ultimately will stain to match the trim of the house, we have to wait 90 days. It'll be toned down a bit. But it is, brand new redwood now. They say wait 90 days before you apply stain. And we would probably stain it the same color as the trim of the house, which is an ivory on the historic palette. And I'd probably have some planters and urns in front of it, to kind of dress it up a little bit. So that's it.
Thanks, Kevin. Questions from the audience? Questions from the panel?
I have a question for the commission.
Yeah.
Is this considered visible from a public way?
I don't think so. If you look at that fence there, I don't think you're going to be able to see the landings, and I don't think you're going to see much of it.
Right.
But at the same time, I think we should just review it and vote on it.
And I think that, in looking at the railing material, that is, it looks very much like the what we approved for the bathhouse. I think it's a high-end PVC product.
It is a composite. It does not have a high sheen. It's a matte, and it has a sub-rail or aluminum sub-rail that's concealed by the composite, the white composite, and then they'll have the mahogany cap as an option if it's on top. So the sleeves that go around the post are also a composite.
Which is paintable, as
The rail
Mr.
itself
Flaherty
is
said.
mahogany, so it comes unstained.
Yes, it's
and
true mahogany.
primed and it's paintable, so you don't have to live with a, pre-finished,
Right.
plastic finish or something.
Ben, do you have any experience with the Zuri
Never,
decking?
no, know nothing about it.
And that's a composite too?
It's a polymer. It's a little different than some of these other, they kind of differentiate themselves from, as they say, the Trex and I forget the other decking material that you see. A lot of times you see those, on town piers and areas that get a lot of traffic and wetness and whatever. This is much more realistic. As they say, I wouldn't even consider it if it didn't look pretty good. But I've had really bad experience with iPay myself, and I've had to get up there and try to restain it every year, especially on stairs that are going to be covered with snow for a few months of the year. They clearly are going to need annual power washing and then kind of a resealing, refreshing, and I'm trying to get away from that if I can.
Andrea, we've treated Greenbush as a public way, correct? So, I think even though we can't see it from
Right.
the street, let's just treat it with that standard like we have with the rest of the homes on the street.
So you mentioned shiplap. I'm assuming that's like a
I have a picture.
1x4?
I have a picture for you, which I forgot to show you. So it's going to look pretty much like this, so.
Thank you. Okay. And that shiplap, the materials for that shiplap?
We haven't really determined that. My assumption is going to be real wood.
Okay.
I think pre-primed wood, or maybe not pre-primed, but it's going to be painted anyway to match.
In contact with the ground, though, so,
It'll be in contact with the ground, and
okay.
so we'll have some hinges and some cut-ins, and so I can use, that area underneath for storing all kinds of things that are now, like garbage cans and recycling and things like that.
Thoughts on being by the ground then?
Well, so the commission in the past, anything in contact with the ground, it's permissible to be PVC or composite. I would recommend that, because that's going to deteriorate quickly.
Okay. They can use, and I actually, I forget what they call it, if you paint it, it looks exactly like wood, it comes pre-primed.
Boral?
Hmm?
Boral?
One of them,
There's
yeah.
a couple of brands.
Yeah, you can use
Clear-
that.
Clear with a K, there's a Coma, also with a K, and it's a
Yeah.
PVC matte finish, but you
Right.
can paint it.
Right. And I think we could, specify that. I've used that in other houses that weren't historic, but, if you paint it, you really don't know the difference.
Right.
Right.
And so the skirt board also on the staircase, that would be the trim piece that would conceal the frame or the
Yeah, the
structure?
risers, I guess, would be the same kind of material.
Right.
Again, they get a lot of wear and tear, and, we might be away, for some part of the winter and just, snow sitting on it, real wood is not gonna be helpful, for that to hold up.
I'm all set, yeah, thank you.
Virginia, get some follow-up?
Well, thank you for the introduction to this and your detail into it. It's really helpful. And, but I'm going to look at this from a more global, commission-oriented point of view. And that is, I understand that we have whatever comes in contact with the ground can be composite, shall we say. And I wonder how much of what you're proposing in terms of the steps and so forth does. And I also understand that we take each application individually and abide by it, and rein on it, so to speak. But whatever we think, I think it does set a precedent.
Sure.
We may not think it does, but I think it sets a precedent.
Right.
And so I think we need to think about this in terms of what is the precedent setting in terms of the materials you want to use. Now, you've been very assiduous in terms of how you've approached this, and I understand with the fence, it's probably not from a public way, and we could determine that. But if it is, then, what is the use of composite materials in the broadest sense of a term in terms of viability? Because I think it will set a precedent, frankly. And that's my question. I think probably to the commission, but, I would be inclined to think that we should not authorize composite materials if they cannot be, if they can be seen from the street, given that's our mission, and that they are not within the jurisdiction of treating the ground, shall we say.
Well,
Thoughts on that?
I would prefer wood myself. I'm just, as I kind of looked at, as I get a little, we're older and, don't have the, wherewithal necessarily to maintain these the way. My experience with iPay is that, and my next door neighbor has just power washed his and has to completely refinish his, and it's only, they've been there 2 years, is that I'm trying to get away from that kind of maintenance. His is very visible from the street. I think with my fence, you're not even going to see it. If you could see it, I would see you're setting a precedent, and I probably wouldn't ask you to approve it, to be honest with you, because I was hoping this fence would come in so I could make the case you wouldn't see it. Because up until one day, you could see it. And that's why, I kind of was hoping the timing would be such that the the fence would make the case that you really won't see the surface material at all. But I'm asking that a lower maintenance, it's a little lower cost, we're a little over budget, is that maybe we could try to get away with something that I think looks every bit as good as real wood. And I, as I say, I'm pretty fastidious, so I don't want to put something down that I don't think would be appropriate. So you have to see it. I wish I could bring a sample. I see somebody brought a window in. Maybe I should have brought a sample of this because I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you'll see it, given the new fence that's there. And with that, the lack of your being able to see it from the street, I would think would maybe make it not such a precedent changer for you.
Yeah. It's remarkable to me, sidebar, that if you can't see it, it's okay historically.
Mhm.
That's remarkable.
Right. Well, I thought it was really what's visible from the street, from people really want to see. They don't go inside your house or don't go behind your
Yeah,
house or
yeah.
whatever. And gives you a little leeway.
So the Zuri boards you have not seen, have you seen some of the other materials that?
I have, yeah, I've seen all the other.
Is there a
materials.
sheen on any of the,
No.
okay.
Is there what? Huh?
Sheen. No, it's a matte.
Yeah.
It's a
It
matte
is.
finish. It does an excellent job of
Yeah.
fooling the eye.
This is pressure-treated lumber, right?
It's pressure treated and it's really needs to come down. It seems to get soaking wet and it takes days to dry out and it's a real mess, so.
Yeah, so I guess my view on this would be, is this an improvement over what's there? I'd say it is. I think, this is, this is not something that's historic. It was something that was added on. I don't think it really goes with the house right now. I think this is an improvement in what you're doing. I think it's going to be visible from the train, but then again, I think this is going to be, off in the distance a bit. The treads, we haven't seen the treads, but again, I don't think we're going to be looking at the treads. And I think what you're going to see here is some of these materials that you were commenting on that don't have a sheen to them.
Well, yeah,
and-
they're a superior material. In that,
Yeah.
in this classification of material, they do the better job.
Yeah, and then some of it's going to be in contact with the ground anyways. So, I think Kevin and Marie have done a nice job with the fence up front. They've the brick, which is going to be very visible from the street. They've that really came out well, I think.
It did, yeah, it looks good.
And I think that was the predominant feature that we were looking for in terms of addressing them without a composite. So, given the fence is up and we're talking about, passerbys in a train, I just, I think this is okay. I do.
in this instance, although I do have some concerns about precedent setting. I know we take things out on a case-by-case basis, but in this particular case, I feel more comfortable with the composites
Why, Ben?
because of the fence. And if I'm on a train traveling at that kind of a speed, I'm certainly not walking on the tracks. And there is a fence there, so I couldn't see over anyway. I'd have to be on the train.
So you can't see it from the street or the train?
Yeah.
You'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between real wood
And when I say can't see it from the
and
street,
high-quality.
it's as a result of structure. It's not as a result of plantings. So there's a fence there, it's structure. If these were plantings, I would have a different opinion, because they don't last, and they can be changed.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that, I understand the seeing Greenbush tracks as a public way, although I'm not sure the public can actually go in the way that we would anticipate, as in you would be able to walk by it and see it. So I think it's kind of splitting hairs on that. But given the fence, given the fact that the new structure is going to be much more relevant to the history of the property than what we're seeing right now, and that it will be sitting right on the ground, as pictures, I think that I would support the request.
I would support the request as well. Those reasons, and I think the integrity of the structure would be of a higher order than it would otherwise be.
All right. Weigh it all out. So. Do you want to make a motion on this? If we're ready?
So I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 272 North Street to replace the existing pressurized wood side stairs with new stairs and landing, rails to be Inti-Hampton system with mahogany rails, shiplap painted, let's see, under porch to be shiplap painted to match house, and Zuri brand decking boards stained to match handrails. What else did we have to specify?
Justin, I would
Yeah.
change the rails, it would be the cap is mahogany.
The cap is mahogany. Rails to be Inley Hampton with mahogany rail cap.
Good.
Number of steps to be 5 or 6 at the discretion of the owner, the applicant. Slat boards can be either wood or composite, given the touching the ground, and will be painted to match the other trim on the railing, correct? Pecan color to be used on the steps?
Yes,
To match the,
everything will be the same.
to match the railing, correct? Okay. Forget anything else? Okay. Do you have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain. I only abstain in terms of precedent, in the sense of how we need to think through these things going forward. I don't abstain in the sense of not supporting what you want to do, frankly. But just as a member of the commission, I feel I must abstain in that way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And I hope you understand.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Good
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, 24 North Street. This is an application that we had last time, but this is for the installation of a couple awnings above the store.
Yep.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
All right.
Sorry I wasn't here last time. We had a grandmother with a life alert problem. She was just dehydrated, though.
All right.
So, it's a crazy night.
No problem at
Yeah.
all. No problem at all. Why don't you run us through a little bit about the project here?
Sure.
I probably have some questions about font size and colors.
No graphics, nothing, just black awnings. So currently, I'm obviously facing north. I'm on north on the retail side. I'm getting too much sun exposure, specifically through our longer days, so I'm experiencing damages to the clothing and product in my store. So I had someone come out just to give me a quote, see what it looked like. He recommended 9x7 awnings, projecting 2 feet. I don't want graphics, just because it's such a not lit part of the street, so why add more? But just black sunbrella fabric, and that's about it.
These going to be retractable at all?
They're not, they're fixed.
Yeah. Okay. Questions? Questions?
Seems appropriate to me.
Yeah.
There are instances on the street with a canvas,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fisher may have a comment or not?
Yeah, questions from the audience?
Hi.
How are you?
I am the owner of the building.
Okay.
And the issue that Matt raised. Can you
step up to the microphone?
Oh, sorry, I should have said that.
I should know that. Joe Fisher, 3 Huckleberry Hill Lane, and I'm the owner of the property. The issue that Matt raised in terms of the sun coming in has been an issue with tenants in the past. I believe that the proposal that this applicant has is the most tasteful proposal that I've seen for addressing it, so I am fully supportive of what's being proposed.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Anything else? Take a vote? Ronnie, you wanna handle this one?
I will. I'm searching for the dimensions, but,
Sure. This is from the last meeting.
good, thank you.
There you go. There you go.
I'd like to make a motion for a certificate of appropriateness for 24 North Street for the construction and installation of awnings. 9 feet 7 inch awnings projecting 2 feet with no graphics and constructed of sunbrella fabric, black sunbrella fabric.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you. Good
Great,
luck.
thanks.
All right, see you, Joe. Thank you.
I'm proud of you too and grateful.
All right, next up, 566 Main Street. We have some plans in front of us. This is a new application. This is for a demolition of a roof and construction of a new pitch, steeple roof, some dormers, portico, and some window replacements. How are you? Good. Thanks for coming in.
So the house, as you don't know, was between, when we arrived in Hingham in 92, we had Alex McMillan on one side and Mark Brown on the other. So it was
Yes.
a very nice welcome. We've lived there since. The house needs to be repaired. And as well as repairing it, we have 4 grown children, 1 married, and they need adult space when they come home. So the baby bedrooms aren't quite up to
Yeah.
expectation. So we thought we would do it all at once.
So are you the second owner? Is that how?
The house was built about 85, and
Yeah.
we bought it in 92. They transferred to California.
Yep.
And we transferred in.
Okay, gotcha.
We left for 2 years to live in Tokyo and came back.
Terrific. John, welcome.
Oh, hi.
Do you want to walk us through, or?
Project, sure.
Yeah, either way.
So I'm John Teriyaki Architectural Design, and I'm here with the owners, Louis and Kerry O'Dea. And just briefly go through the proposed project. It's a mid-1980s house, and but it is in a historic district. And I know in the past you've considered these properties as contributing properties, and would like to review changes to them. And what we're basically proposing to do, and I put these such that the left column are the existing and the right column are the proposed. So the first floor plan existing, first floor plan proposed. Essentially, most of the project, the bulk of the project is really the garage piece. We're expanding the garage towards the back about 20 feet. It's approximately 24 feet wide right now. And currently, above the garage is almost this leftover mezzanine space they built, but then they never put a floor up there. So you go in there, and there's a very tall ceiling and this unused volume. And it's a mystery as to why the builder did that. But what we'd like to do is actually build a new roof above this garage and utilize it as additional bedroom space on the second floor. And on the first floor, much needed storage space towards the back, and also expanding the existing deck towards the back a little bit. And that's essentially the garage piece. And just jumping to the second floor of the garage, proposed garage. All right, it's basically consisting of 2 bedroom suites back to back, connected to the existing second floor with a hallway extension. And the way we've arranged the massing is that the garage still looks lower than the existing colonial, but we're trying to accomplish the goal of creating a coplanar floor surface so that you could go from the existing second floor without having to go up and down steps to the proposed bedroom wing. The other piece, a minor piece, is a portico addition to the front of the building. And then the third massing element is the roof pitch. And I'll just switch to the elevations. Again, existing and proposed side by side. As you see right now, the existing colonial is quite plain, and the piece, especially above the garage, the pitch is just too low. The proportions are a little awkward. And hopefully, what we're trying to accomplish is to create a visual focal point with the new garage, with that taller roof and dormer massing above to create that bedroom volume up there. And at the same time, to complement that, we're restructuring the main roof to a 12 to 12 pitch and putting 2 decorative, essentially decorative gable dormers on the front. The attic is going to remain unfinished. The main goal of the attic project is really aesthetics. Just to give the house, as we expand the garage, proportionally expand the volume of the colonial so that it still reads together as a composition. And then going all the way around, we're trying to stay consistent with the theme of enriching the details a little bit, thickening up the trim boards, potentially re-siding the house. We're going to stay true to the front clapboard. So if we re-side, the front is going to remain clapboard, and the sides and the back will remain cedar shingle. Quick side view over here of the garage piece as we expanded it and kind of elongated Nantucket dormer. It's really not going to be visible from the street. You're just going to see this portion of it. But we try to capture that volume without creating anything that's too boxy. We're trying to break up the volume and massing as we're trying to expand that second floor space. So in a nutshell, that's the exterior work proposed.
Questions for John?
What's the overall additional space by comparison to the existing square foot?
We're adding about 950 square feet additional. And I apologize, I don't have the existing total square footage with me right now. I'm not sure if you remember it.
2,800.
Something like 2,800, and that's not including the basement.
It's got a
So-
walkout basement.
That's just the 2 levels.
So 2,800 plus 900, going to about 3,700 square feet.
Does that include the garage? Those numbers?
It doesn't include the unfinished portion of the garage, so it's just the finished floor space above it.
It does not.
It does not include,
All those numbers were excluding the garage.
correct.
It's living space.
Above it.
Okay.
So the house isn't any wider, and the bulk of it isn't any fatter. It's confined primarily to elongation of the garage and elevation to match in the roof, but empty space.
And the construction was 85? 1985?
Yes.
Yeah.
not 18 or 17.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's in and back from the road, so most people don't even know there's a house there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it was the garden of the Mark Brown house, and it was converted into living space when they broke that property up, and they put 22 acres in the back. That was Mr. Shoeman, what was his name? Etonic. So Mr. Eaton had the 22 acres in the back. Mark Brown's house is 2.5 acres. Macmillan's house is about 2 acres, but the Mark Brown house had 25 acres originally, and when it was sold, it was broken into 3 pieces, and one of those pieces was 1 acre. It was his decorative garden, and that was where our house was built. So it's really a sub-piece of the Mark Brown house, as we call it, the Mark Brown house. It's had 3 people since, but still, everyone in town. You say you live beside Mark Brown, everybody knows where you live.
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No.
John, is that the facade that's visible from the street? I need some help here.
Yes, that's the front facade.
Only from the garage, only from the driveway entrance.
Right.
But there are cedars across the front. There's a stone wall and cedars.
Right. So what I'm seeing, this would be the Mark Brown house back in here?
Other side.
Other side, he's
Macmillan
over
house is
here.
on the right.
Okay. So Mark Brown's is on the left.
On the left, and
Correct.
elevated.
Okay.
Is that A01?
That's correct, yeah, that was a page with the photographs, upper left photograph.
Upper left photograph, yep.
Front facade.
So the Alec Macmillan house, did we recently, okay,
No, it's, no.
that
we
didn't
haven't-
come before us with Monica McKenzie?
No, not that one.
Okay,
No,
that's even one more over.
that's even further, yes.
Right, that's the Doyle's house.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just getting oriented here.
Yes.
Bearings, yeah.
Okay.
Off the street. It's approximately 100 feet.
At least,
It's
but I
about
don't
that.
know
I have
that number
100 foot of
exactly.
hose to go to the front. It takes 100 feet to go to the berm and try and rescue it from the heavy machinery that gets parked there.
Okay.
It also slopes down a little bit
Yeah,
from the
it's-
grade of the street.
Mm-hmm.
Driveway does slope down, probably 3 to 4 feet below the street.
What's the height change that you're proposing, main building?
If you don't mind, I'm going to measure that with my scale. Exact number? So from the grade to the, and the grade being the grade near the main house,
Yeah.
it's currently about 26,
Yeah.
and we're raising it about 29 and a half, so 3.5 feet or so, the peak.
Okay, and the pitch change is going to be from what to what?
I believe the existing is an 8 pitch, and we're going to a 12 pitch.
Okay.
I apologize. 12 pitch is over the house, it's a 10 pitch proposed for the main building.
10 pitch to the, and the 12 on the
The
garage.
12 is the main
Yep.
gable of the proposed garage.
12 gable on the garage, okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read something from the Form B.
Sure.
That might be enlightening. The Colonial Revival residence at 566 Main Street is based on a 2-story Georgian 5-bay house with detailing from other periods. The side lights of the entrance is of federal origin, while the filled Roman arched pediment with radiating lines is typical of Queen Anne ornamentation. The most obvious 1985 elements are the exterior chimney and the 2-car garage attached to the house. The residence is one of 4 colonial revival structures in the Tower Wilder district.
Is that before it was built or after?
Pardon me?
It sounds very posh. Is that before or after it was built?
This was
You ran out of
written
money,
in
by the way.
1987.
2 years later.
All right, all right.
What is the proximity, I'm asking a bunch of questions because I haven't walked the property. What's the proximity of some of the other homes to yours, as far as off of your lot lines, and how far they're away from this structure?
So, to what we call the Mark Brown house, for people that just bought it, but I guess it will stay.
Property
I don't
line
know,
or the
20
house?
Just how far away from your house are their houses?
70 feet away.
70 feet?
Mark Brown's house is about 70 feet away.
I actually have that on my phone, if you want to
Just-
see their lot lines.
Yeah, just roughly, I'm just curious how
On the
far
other
away.
side, well, firstly, none of them we're not in parallel, we're set back behind them. So, but if you were to draw a line from our center point to theirs, it's about 70 to Mark, and it's about 40 to the other house,
Okay.
at least 40.
And these,
Yep.
Well, this is kind of interesting. I'm sorry, not at your expense, I hope it's not, but, it's kind of interesting to have a, shall we say, a modern house in a historic district that has architectural features of a Georgian house. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Now, I have to say, I didn't get to look where your house was, but is it like, when Alec McMillan and Sonny McMillan lived next door to the Baptist church, they had that cape, yours is next?
So if you're looking at the Baptist church, there is the Parsons Cape, the Macmillan's Cape, our house, and Mark Brown's house.
going towards town, that is.
Got it, okay,
And
yeah,
Mark
got it.
Brown's, if you recall, it's elevated. I mean, the house
It
is
is.
up.
No, I just have to, this is so cheesy, but I just have to indulge my curiosity. Mark Brown is the child's author, Mark
That's right.
Brown?
Yes,
Arthur.
yes, yes.
All right,
Their house is immediately to the right of that,
okay.
in a hollow, a lower grade.
A hollow, okay, great. All right, thank you.
How strongly do we feel about the cupola? I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No.
Not at all.
So how strongly do we feel about the cupola and actually the gables being added to the main body of the house? You mentioned them being decorative, and it seems it busies it up an awful lot, but I wonder.
It definitely adds more detail. I think, I don't want to speak for the O'Deas, but I think we probably feel a little stronger about the dormers. We have to prioritize. Less maybe about the cupola, which is set back quite a bit. So actually, the cupola is not going to be that visible in perspective, just because it's at the midpoint of this long garage piece that recedes back.
I'm just primarily responding to the drawing.
Yeah. And obviously, the problem with the colonial elevation drawings is it always looks so tall.
Right.
But then that roof really recedes back pretty quickly, so hopefully it's not going to look as flat looking as the 2D represents it.
So I don't know how the others feel, but I would, for me, it would be value added to go out and visit this and to see the changes that you're proposing in relation to the other homes on the street. Because I think this is going to become more of a formal house from what you're proposing. It's not going to have these simple features that it has now. This is going to be an amped up, stepped up, and a more formal presentation, I think. So I just want to understand how that fits in with the neighborhood. Is it going to be too much? Is it going to fit in well compared to the other homes? That's my primary question and concern at this point. And if it is, if it does still fit in fine, But if if some of the new features you're adding are going to really separate it from the other homes, I think we need to, just take a step back and think about those elements. Maybe it's a cupola, maybe it's the, maybe it's the work on the roof, simplifying that. Maybe it's the front entrance, I'm not sure. Maybe it's the garage is much more formal than it is now. But I think there's things that you can do with this home to achieve the desired expansion that you want for your family. It's just a question of how to approach it, So I think once I go out and just kind of walk the property and see the neighborhood and see how these changes are going to impact it, I'm going to feel a lot better, and I'll be able to have more of an input for you.
So having lived there for 27 years on the street, as it were, I think the other place of reference is across the road at the First Parish Church and the houses that were renovated about 10, 15 years ago, to look at those also in terms of giving them a certain, or should we say gravitas, a little more, some of the emphasis around the edging is very reminiscent of what they've done. So we've tried to, the house doesn't have a lot of presence, to your point. It has the sort of a 1980s Puritan look about it.
Right.
So giving it a little bit more, should we say, polish,
Yes.
would be interesting to us.
Yep, I understand.
And I think the description sounds, a lot nicer than the visual appearance of the existing house. And when you go to your site visit, I think you get a sense of that, is that there are a lot of mixed encasement windows,
Yeah.
some funny-looking massing above the garage. It's not this quaint, well-designed 1980s building. I think maybe we're adding a lot of richness to that, but I think it's definitely it's adding more shadow lines, more depth.
Okay.
So hopefully, when you go to the site, that'll become.
The other thing I'd say is this is a 1985 construction, so I think in terms of our analysis on this and how we think about it, it's going to be, a little bit different than if this was a 1700s Georgian colonial, so.
And you'll see it needs work, one way or the other.
What do you?
I agree, I'd like to go out, I now know the house, and based on the descriptions and studying these pictures, but I think just standing there on the street is going to answer all my questions.
Right, and the houses across the road have also been
Right.
renovated in the last 15 years. with
Similar
a little-
pitch.
Little bit more, should we say, emphasis to
Right.
the edging and other things, yeah.
Right, and they've got some 10 and 12 pitch across the street. Yeah.
How do you, a lot of what they're trying to achieve here is through this height differential. Do you think 3 foot is,
I don't think it's going to make a difference. It's down in a hollow. There's a drop to that plot.
yeah, I don't think 3 foot's going to have a big impact here. And it sounds like, or just from the drawings, a lot of what you're doing is towards the back of the house. But let's maybe we just understand the features in front and how that's going to change the streetscape. What do you think, Virginia?
I completely agree.
Okay.
My association, again, a little ersatz, is, Colonial Williamsburg restoration wasn't 1700, but was done in a spirit of that. And I think that's what you're trying to achieve in many ways.
Yes, we don't want it to be a, I wouldn't say an eyesore, we don't want it to stand out because we respect the, should we say, the history of the street. It's nice to be able to say you live on Main Street, Hingham, and we don't want to change Main Street, Hingham.
Well, we're also powerful.
Since we just have black and white photos, what color is the house now?
Tan.
I would call it a light, clearly we don't know.
Tan. Faded tan.
It's a greenish,
tan?
yeah, it's a.
You want to stay with that, or you want to do something different?
I could stay with it if that was like a breaking point for you all. I haven't really thought about the color.
We have, so our 1980s palette is wide open. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
But when it was painted within the available colors when we painted it last, which was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was blue
Yeah.
at one point, and we painted it to be tan, because we were actually trying to make it disappear a little, like,
Yeah.
be more earth-like.
So the tan might not work as well with the changes that you're proposing.
So we'll go green with
Well,
trees?
it's,
Yeah.
But, yeah.
something to think about.
Yes, okay, we
Yeah.
shall. Yeah.
Oh, site visit?
Oh, that's exciting.
Is on the 15th. No, it's on the 19th of September. And so what we'll do is pick a Saturday morning, probably 9 o'clock.
Sure.
And so I'll contact John and, poll everybody and see when they're available.
The Saturday before that.
It'll be before the next meeting.
But when do you think you want to start on this?
We've been thinking about it for years, so we're not, we're getting help.
Yeah,
to form.
as far as the construction part of it.
That really is a question of availability of the builder. I think we're getting late in the year, is what I hear
Okay.
at this point, and it may be the spring. Would that be right?
Oh.
We'd like to do it soon.
I'd like to do it sooner than later, but
Okay, so you're going through the process of.
Yeah,
we have a builder in mind,
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're,
Jerry Rankin.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that you're on the same page with us in terms of our review and,
Yes.
when you
Yes.
want to start.
Yes, I mean, if
Okay.
we can get,
Well, we want to be expeditious, right?
Right.
You can come and see it anytime.
Well, we'll be out there before the next meeting, so
Okay.
be out there as a, kind of a public forum, and then within the next week or two, a few weeks before the next meeting. Okay?
All right.
Anything else? Did we miss anything?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay. All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
All right,
We'll see you
thanks
soon.
all.
All right. Jim, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
You want to do 118 South first?
Sure.
All right. How you doing?
I have to go and take some photographs off of the,
Okay, so, Jim, just so you know, voting members tonight are going to be everyone here except Virginia. Okay. Because she wasn't here at the last time.
Okay.
I do have some updated drawings that I'll distribute.
May I help?
Sure.
Thanks. So thanks for having us out. Last weekend? Was it last weekend? Yeah. Okay. So we got a chance to walk the property and check out some of the, the primary review here for us is going to be the windows, the window changes. I don't think any of the other proposed changes are visible, was our conclusion, I think. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So I know, John, you were going to walk us through some of the specifics regarding the windows.
Yeah,
and
sure.
kind of what the options here for restoration versus replacement and moving things around. That'd be great.
Yeah, based on our discussion on site, and the windows have been relabeled on the new drawings, E meaning existing to remain or repaired as needed, and the new ones are numbered. And maybe I'll start with the front elevation, no changes to any of the windows, jumping to the east, kind of the left side elevation. I know when we were walking around, second floor windows here, I think you had mentioned that those may be good candidates to remain. So we actually put the originals back into the plan on these two windows right here.
Okay.
The ones in the kitchen, we think that the sizing of the existing right now, if you look over here, there's a size issue. So this particular window, I think, is a good candidate to be reused.
Okay,
So we would still like to keep the door, keep these two windows, but these two windows we would like to replace with two new ones that fit better with kitchen counters. And then the other one in the attic, it would have been fine to remain, except if the attic becomes a bedroom, which is a potential plan, we need an egress size window. So we need a slightly bigger window, so that's the only reason why we would have to replace that double hung with a slightly larger window. That we're labeling type 2, which is a 30 by 4'4" window. And then just continuing along that facade, the windows of the apartment are new anyway, but they're not changing. After the last iteration, we had 3 windows right here, and we actually made those a little taller, and then we made them more consistent across the facade. This right here is an existing window that's staying. And then these 4 double hungs are a little taller, and they correspond better to the rest of the elevation. Now, that facade is actually not visible from the street, but I wanted to mention that. And then jumping to the right side of the building, I think the biggest grouping was over here. We were proposing all new double hungs right here. These over here are remaining unchanged. So the attic, the second floor windows here, and this one was staying the same. And we went ahead and these basically kept the same 3 double hungs here as existing. So those are going to remain. The one that is going to be replaced, oh, and also this small double hung here, we're going to leave that as well. That kind of falls right into the new bathroom, so that's fine. It's just this 4th double hung right here. It conflicts with our new doorway. So that would be the one to be taken out and potentially reused. But these 3 are staying as original. And then 3 new windows up here compared to this one. And then the remaining windows on the facade are all original. And then some minor adjustments in the back elevation based on some of our bedroom layout. But that's not visible from the street. But regardless, we're continuing the new type 2 double hung, that 4'4" height double hung across the back as well.
okay.
Sorry.
John, so I think the big change is gonna be on the east side elevation. So that, the one so the ones on the bottom, those 2, the one on the left, is that a 30 by 52 by any chance?
Yes.
Can you move that one up to the attic?
Actually, we can, yeah.
So.
I mean, it'll be a little close to the floor, but I think it may be fine, as long as we can get 18 inches.
Yeah.
Tempering shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so because you want to put 2 new ones down here on the bottom, right?
Correct, yeah.
And they're going to be, that's a different size than what's there now?
It is, those are only 4 feet tall because they have to work with the countertop
Okay,
inside.
okay, so if you can pop one out and then you've got the attic one, that's going. Is the attic one too big for downstairs? Or too small, or?
Actually, that could be, we may be able to reuse that as one of these
I'd like to,
windows.
I think, I don't know about the quality of that window, because it's.
The attic one?
Yes, I'd have to look at that, so.
Okay.
Maybe I can get back to you on that. That window might be in pretty dramatic disrepair.
Okay,
Okay.
but it's,
It's been in the attic and
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah, that's pretty gross up there.
yeah, so it looks like based on what I'm hearing from you, we're only losing, we're losing the attic, but we're replacing that one, and then we're just losing the one by the door, that's it, so, no, that little one,
Yes.
that little one, so that one's,
We'll try to reuse in the,
Which is a rear
Right.
window anyway.
right, okay, so we're just basically, we're just losing the attic is basically what's going on here, based on what you're telling me, in essence, because that little one is not, that's not working
on
there
the east
anymore.
side, yes. That's-
On the east
that's
side.
Correct.
Okay, and then you got some new ones going up there,
In this facade that's set back in,
right,
it's not really visible from the street.
that one up there on the right, is there anything,
This one,
no, on the L, off the back, yep,
these 3,
yep, the one that's on the original, that's there now.
that one over there, that actually could, you may have to relocate, you may have to lift it up a little bit, but I think that's close in size to one of these, so we may be able to reuse that one.
Fine with me.
And then pop 2 new ones in there?
Yes, and if
Okay.
it's a slight, if a few inches off, I don't think it'll be that noticeable.
Okay,
So reuse that one as well.
okay. And then there was just, I mean, on the other side, it's all existing pretty much, except for that little one that you want to pop off of the second floor.
Yeah, this one over here.
And then just put 3 new ones, so you're not losing any windows on the other side except for that little one.
Correct.
Thanks for doing all the restoration work here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a great house.
I have no comments other than just to add that I appreciate the restoration work and the willingness to reuse those windows and move them around. I think that facade in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to normalize it. We use that word a lot. Certainly, there's some incongruity to it now, which
Sure.
you will be fixing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of wavy glass there. I know there's some broken glass too, so hopefully you can find something that will work, you know, that's some old glass that'll fit in on that ground floor by the driveway, you know?
Sure.
Those are some nice windows.
Yeah, and there's some that will come off the
Yeah,
rear that we can hopefully pull out and pop in there.
yeah, those are classic, how that glass is working there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any additional comments. I think it's appropriate and more of a desirable proposal.
Looks good. Very supportive.
Ben, you okay with this?
I'm good with it. Are you asking me to
Yeah, you want
make a motion?
I can help you. I can help you with,
You're not allowed to make a motion?
well,
I've never known you to make a motion.
no. I'm thinking about the next application.
This seems to be,
I don't want to give away all my secrets.
but you know exactly what's going on here. I don't know if I followed all the
All right.
moving over.
All right, I'll make a motion.
I make a motion that Hans
All right, I'll make a motion. All right,
This is historic.
all right. I'd like to make a motion for 118 South Street for some window modifications as follows. In drawings A 1.1, A 1.2, A 1.3, A 2.1, and A 2.2. Changes to A 2.1 will be the relocation of the bottom window on the left on the main house up to the attic, correct?
Correct.
Yep. We talked about.
Yep.
And for the replacement of the window by the door with a larger window, and finding another window to match, whether it's existing from the house or a new wood true divided light. Okay, so I think that's the one replacement we were looking at. On the second floor, on the addition, on A 2.1, the window, immediately next to the main house, that window will stay. 2 windows to the left, as depicted in the drawing, will be new wood replacement windows that will match that window. All windows to be wood true divided light. On A 2.2, no changes to the windows that are being proposed in the drawings. all windows labeled in the drawings that are E are to remain and restored. 2.2. The bump out on the, off the main house is not visible from the street, so that is not in our jurisdiction to review. Anything else I'm forgetting?
The only thing I would add is the plans dated
August 15th. Yep, thank you. August 15th. All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Good.
Thank you.
All right. Next up,
I'm still here.
219 Main Street. It's the Jim and John show this evening. All right. So this was also great to come out to walk the property. It's very helpful. And having all the stakes up and the trees, as well as some commentary from the neighbors, I thought was great. So. So, John, do you want to walk us through some of the thoughts based on the site visit and
Yes.
and any changes that you may have had to the site plan or the buildings themselves? That'd be great.
Yes, as part of the site visit, I know we talked about a couple of things. I think primarily leaving the existing curb cut in place in the portion of the driveway that comes into the property and then flaring it as needed for the new turnaround area for the detached garage. And then the other item was slight rotation of the garage, which we rotated about 15 degrees with respect to the house. That seemed like a good balance. We didn't want too much of a rotation, too much of a contrast. At the same time, we picked up the house and moved it about 3 feet towards the north and about 5 feet away from the street towards west. And that was really a result of looking at some of the neighboring houses within the context. And primarily this one over here, 215, trying to create, that felt like a right streetscape to us. That dimension of approximately 35 feet from the property line. Required setback is 25, we're going another 10 feet. We don't want to go too much, obviously, and eat up the backyard. But that extra 5 feet, I think, puts it in context, especially with 215, and some of the other houses in the area, like this one over here, 235. There are some ins and outs, there's no 100% consistency, but I think anything more than 35 feet, I think you start losing that streetscape a little bit. So we felt that was the right amount. And as the garage rotated slightly, we think that will help get its back corner out of that slope back there. And so those are some of the big picture site moves. And then in terms of floor plans and elevations, we added some more detail. So we did label all the windows and included a window schedule and a door schedule, exterior door schedule for the main building and the garage, and we added some more notes and roof slopes. I know there's some questions and some trim dimensions. So really trying to give a little more specificity to the design of the buildings. Other than that, the design really hasn't changed, except the entry. We did make the entry, but we did give a little more of a pediment design to the entry. I think before it only had 4-inch wide vertical trim next to the doors. We made those 8 inches, almost like pilasters. And then which we think gives a little more depth to that without making it appear like a portico or anything like that, but I think it gives it a little more detail, which we thought was appropriate. But all the other detail is still fairly toned down. Simple trim pieces, 6-inch corner boards, 8-inch eaves and rakes. The main roof pitch is 10 to 12. And then the piece that's going backward is 12 to 12, mainly to get that, the headroom on the second floor. And then the shed dormer pitches are around 4 to 12, plus minus.
Excellent,
It's
excellent. Any questions from the audience? Okay, everything was probably answered at the site visit, that's good, that's good.
I
Panel?
have some questions. John, on the front of the garage, above the overhead garage doors, I would assume you need to project that detail in order to capture the rakes, because that runs along the entire front. So there's a shelf there. I'm not sure what the
Yes.
correct architectural term would be for that. That shelf detail that's wood?
That's the current intent, is to have a minimal slope on that shelf
Okay.
and have it be painted wood.
So you're going to coat that in lead? My concern is that's going to be the first thing to deteriorate, and it will go quickly, in wood. So I would ask the commission to consider, this is just the shelf, you would see an edge of PVC. So
Top of that piece, that's a good point, actually, yeah.
similar to the water table below, where John has called out, and we have approved those water tables before in PVC, there's a small angle there. This is very similar to that in terms of what it's trying to accomplish. It's shedding water. So it will receive a tremendous amount of weather. So I would be concerned, and this element exists on the main house as well, on the gable end. So I would just ask the commission to consider that be a composite.
Is it desirable to have that detail on the gables? Something we
I
haven't
think the
talked about.
alternative could just be,
I mean, I guess you could return
returns.
them and stop them.
Yeah, and then you have what you've done is you've broken up the clapboard, which helps the eye. Otherwise, you may get this, rather large wall if you do just stop it at the returns.
right, and we still have that problem a little, even if you return, let's say 30 inches, 2 feet.
Yeah, so like a 1x10 piece of PVC instead of wood.
And this pitch is minimal. I don't think you're going to see it. You're going to have the edge. The edge is the only thing you're going to really see that's visible.
That's correct.
And if it's a factory edge, it's painted white. I'm just worried about those boards are going to deteriorate, and someone's going to be back in front of us
Asking
in
for-
5 years.
Asking for to do that. Yeah, that's great.
That's right. It's three-quarters of an inch
facing the street.
I would just ask that the commission consider that. And then, my other comments is, the house is diminutive, which is helpful. I appreciate that. You've reduced the ridge height. I think it can work well on the site. I mean, I don't suggest any other changes. And I support it as it is here.
So Virginia, what do you think about 3/4 of an inch?
Because it seems like an elegant compromise with a significant upside in longevity.
Sometimes a philosophical perspective is not always a pragmatic one. By raising your question, you know how I feel philosophically. But hard to believe, but I am persuaded by Ben's recommendation.
I am not stunned that you were persuaded. I am not.
Good.
Because I don't think it's, not to be defensive, but I don't think it's setting a precedent against historicity of preservation. I think it's setting a bit of a precedent about being practical for what is in the end going to be preservative.
With very little historic expense, I would say.
And we didn't even rehearse this.
No. This is open public debate. This is of the finest kind.
Good.
Good, amen.
So you want to do red cedar on the roof or asphalt? Where you leaning?
Well, I will, if I take the house through to fruition without outside or additional influence, then I would lean to red cedar, but should I engage with someone who wants to purchase the house that might not want to spring the extra expense, then I could see myself putting asphalt on there. Can't imagine that any party who would engage in buying this house as is would want it any other way. And because of the size of the roof, I don't think it's a huge added expense, and so I think it's well worth every penny, but I can't tell you 100% that wouldn't happen.
No, this is a classic cape, the way you have it designed.
Yeah.
So, without any type of modifications to the roof line, it's just so clean, you know?
Yep.
It's just without any dormers or gables, it's just, you know? So, it might be good showing off the red cedar towards the street.
For sure.
The driveway here, I know you've got some, looks like you got some cobbles or some gray stone connecting the two buildings. What do you want to do there?
I would say I would do brick wherever I have the opportunity to, if you guys are amenable to that. You know, cobble apron probably at the beginning, and then some stone for the driveway.
So you want to do a stone driveway?
That's where I would lean. Again, I don't know if you want to table that discussion for now, or if we want to articulate all those things. I haven't, to be honest, given that stuff much thought.
Okay.
So I would always, in this instance, I think definitely brick would be great if we're doing any walkways or anything like that.
Okay.
I would imagine people could desire a portion of the driveway to be paved, but I don't think all of it needs to be paved. So, yeah, I would lean towards crushed stone, like a 3/8 or 3/4 inch native pea stone type material, and cobble the front, maybe cobble an apron in front of the garage as you lead up into the garage, and call the rest stone.
Yeah.
If you want to put that in there as what we do, and we need to amend any changes, I'm fine with that if you guys like that.
And it's the same cut on Main Street, right? This is the
There's
same.
no alteration to the curb cut, exactly,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. I think what you've done with the building configurations on the site and turn them slightly to match the turn on Main Street, I think works really well. I also like how you have the garage set back, and it's just, it's supported. It doesn't compete with the house. It does its job, That works very well. I think there's some nice separation between the two buildings too. So I think that really helps out, some nice character. Yeah, I think this is when I initially, heard about this, I was concerned about the trees, the woods, and there, and the changes. But I think this is going to be a very, very solid addition to the Lower Main Street area. I think it's going to work out well. I think it's going to fit in nicely with some of the other buildings. I think the setback off the street is very appropriate. It's the right distance. If you
twisted the garage adds a lot of visual interest.
If you wanted to take, put a brick walkway, walking from Main Street like some of the other homes up to the front door, at a later date, that might work out well too, depending upon how you want to, landscape that front yard. But I think this works really well with the lot. I think it's the right size. It's very appropriate. It's not overpowering this lot. it's not overpowering the street, you know, it fits in nicely. It just, it's a breath of fresh air, really, is what it is, so.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to us.
It's all done.
Yeah. So I don't have a whole lot of changes to the main building.
Mr. Chairman?
You know.
Because we were so early on this, I think I'm going to give Mr. Healy a call
Oh, okay, oh,
in case, because we were going to, yeah, 8:10. So if we have abutters who are intending to,
good point.
then I would like to notify them. So we'll just keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for catching that.
Yep, no problem.
Other thoughts, comments?
Should we review the minutes while we have it?
No, so let's talk a little bit more about the materials, you know, windows, color, or some of those details. What are you thinking about for that?
Currently, we're showing 4-inch exposure cedar clapboards, painted wood trim, and windows, solid wood, simulated divided light. Noting the Marvin Ultimate or Equal, but we haven't picked an exact manufacturer
Okay.
at the moment.
No colors or anything like that in mind yet.
Doors to be all wood.
Yep.
Yep.
Correct, the entry door, the side door, and the garage doors in solid wood.
How about some of the steps walking up to the, use stone, or are you going to use?
I would say rather use granite
Yeah.
instead of wood. You might be showing them as wood, but I would prefer to use granite.
Very nice.
Some, couple rustic pieces, or
Sure.
something that's not kind of rough cut.
Yep.
Great. No shutters on the drawings. Right, so you
Correct.
keep it like that.
Yeah.
Garage doors, all wood.
Yes. All wood, once we pick the exact specs, we can submit that along with the exterior light fixture cut sheets and the final color.
Yeah.
Once you determine that from the
Yeah.
palette.
You guys okay with the glass on the doors? Kind of the barn doors? It's like 8 lights.
The side entry door?
No,
Garage
just the
doors.
front-
Garage
front
doors.
Garage doors, yeah. Oh, 10, you're right, thank you.
Would we prefer no glass there?
Personally, I think it goes well with the window upstairs, you know. And it also draws in, you know, the main house.
One other thing to talk about that Ben mentioned, what about the drip edge? Could we consider that to be,
Drip edge for,
like on the little piece of trim above the lower piece of trim that wraps around the house? If we're gonna make the
water table.
the top of the water table, essentially, a little, 2.5-inch piece of trim that would go on top of that as like a shed, to
No.
shed the water off.
I use that as a reference because John has written here that would be a solid.
Yeah. That is the only PVC noted right now.
Oh, okay.
And we would recommend, that. We have approved that before.
Okay,
yeah.
great. Sorry about that, I didn't
Yeah.
read through there.
You want to do some lanterns or some lights, bring those in, or?
Yeah, I'd say I can submit some pictures first, and then, something consistent with what we've used in the past.
Okay.
Absolutely won't be a problem. I mean, we probably would want a sconce or two at the front door,
Yep.
I'd say.
Maybe one on the,
Yeah,
on the door connecting to the garage.
yeah, agreed.
One side of it.
That's the west side?
Is that right? South side. Right? It's like southwest, yeah. Maybe something by that door?
Yep.
Walking from the garage?
Yes, please, yes. And ideally on the front of the garage as well.
Yeah.
John, on A2.1, the box bay window, is that an asphalt roof?
That roof is not noted at the moment.
I would say copper.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, if we did red cedar, we do.
We didn't note it, but I
copper.
think copper could be a good candidate.
So a bright copper to weather?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't see any gutters. Was there any intent there?
They're not currently drawn right now, but I know you're usually okay with aluminum gutters.
I would like to put gutters on the house, yes.
And then we haven't talked about half-round versus a different profile.
Yeah, I would say, again, if we go ahead with the cedar roof, it would be probably the K-style copper, just for expense purposes, but I'd probably put copper, at least on the front and the visible areas.
So you're thinking copper gutter?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Or a combination of copper and,
I would put combo, because I probably wouldn't, well,
okay.
again, there might be some input from another unforeseen party, but I think it.
You said K.
Yeah, the K-style copper
Okay.
instead of the half rounds.
And you're doing a round downspout or the
Yes,
2x?
round.
Good call.
I spoke with Mr. Bedford, and he's comfortable with things, so
Okay.
he's going to stay home, but Mr. and Mrs. Healy are here.
Okay. How about your neighbor to the rear?
He's here,
Okay, I'm sorry. Great.
the Favros.
Okay, great.
No, he's not here.
Oh, he's not?
No.
That's Janet and Richard Young.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Of course, I should have recognized you. My apologies.
Okay.
Do you want to text Mark? Just ask him.
Sure.
I could even give him a quick call.
All right, that's fine. That'd be nice.
You know, the other thing we need to do is go through the, our
Sure.
for the construction, so we can do that too. Maybe find out if we're missing something. Yeah. Give me a chance to.
So 9 and 10 on the schedule, those are going to be clad units. They're in the rear of the house.
Yeah, the French doors, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. Those will probably be Anderson
A
clad doors, since they're completely facing the back.
Right.
John, what's the timing on moving forward on this? Are there any other
That's a good,
boards you need to go through, or?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe so, but that's a good question for Jim, maybe when he comes back.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
So, John, I just want to make sure I understand. It was the garage. You changed the orientation.
Correct, garage turned about 15 degrees,
Yeah.
and the house was pushed back farther by about 5 feet and 3 feet towards the side lot line.
Okay, that's great.
He did not answer,
Okay,
so I texted him.
Thank you, appreciate that.
thank you.
There was a question about timeline for the project.
Timeline for the project, I would say the soonest, considering Board of Health, I'd still have to get that permit. So I'd say the soonest would be beginning within 2.5 months, I'd say, the soonest, and potentially soon into the new year, worst case.
You know, I don't think Mr. and Mrs. Healy, they didn't hear the comment about the movement of the structure, so if you could repeat that, please.
Let's go back to the aerial for so basically, the house was moved farther away from the street by about 5 feet, and then towards the right about 3 feet, so it moved diagonally away. And looking at basically some of the neighboring houses, some of those front setbacks, so it ended up being 35 feet from the front lot line, which is actually not the curb line, but a little farther in. And then the garage was rotated about 15 degrees, as discussed on the site visit, and pushed back slightly with respect to where it used to be in the previous design. And then the curb cut is the existing curb cut of the existing driveway. But it's going to flare out so that there's a little bit of a turnaround area to get into the garage.
Thank you.
Mark is attending.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Mark just texted me, he said he is on his way here.
Okay, good. All right. Mr. Chairman, Mike said if you'd like to recess, he could stop taping.
It was suggested.
Suggested.
Yeah, we can do that.
If you'd like to do that, or we can do minutes, we can fill in with fun facts.
We can do the minutes right now.
Okay, you want to do the minutes, and then we'll wait till Mr. Fabro gets here.
So, Sherry put together the minutes from last meeting. It should be in your folders.
They're lengthy, I'm sorry.
Are there any changes to, additions?
I had nothing.
Mr. Chairman, I have to still read the last 2 pages.
Okay. Take your time. So we got a little bit of time.
I didn't do my homework, sir.
That's all right. I'm sure you were busy this week.
I must say that, once again, Miss Sherry outdid herself.
Well, I said I apologize that they're so lengthy. This one, a lot went on that was important.
Well, that was very nicely done. Yes, I agree.
No, we need no additions or edits.
Tell me when you want me to go to Fun Facts. I love these. Oh, you know, I was going to tell you that. Oh, yeah.
Just have to come this way a little. I think I will. Because this is like, wait, I was gonna say to you, what about putting the door here instead, and then you can make like their patio?
Okay. Good. No changes. No changes? Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes from July 11th, 2019.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. Thank you.
something we could take up while we're waiting. I had a visit from Mark Watson today, who's an attorney. His house, here it is. He's at 5153 North Street, and I think it's painted blue.
Yes.
Yeah, and so his office is in there, and another office as well. So what he wanted to do, and he sent me some pictures, he is proposing a wall-mounted split-duct AC condenser, proposed to hide a bush. He's going to plant a bush to hide the condenser from the street. Now, he says, we are looking to replace multiple window AC units with one wall-mounted condenser, or wall-mounted condensers for a split-duct system. Nothing on the ground, just slim profile Fujitsu unit mounted to the left side of the building, about a foot or two off the ground. This is 5153 North Street. So we could shield with piece of fence or shrub, though these units are unobtrusive. As you can see, we recently re-landscaped to get back to a more traditional spare aesthetic. Less is more. We are requesting that the board allow you to administratively approve the above. So here are the photographs. So that's the question. If you feel like you want this to come to a hearing, or if you think I can approve this. He pointed out that there are other buildings that have the same.
What is the preference for this over a central AC system?
I think, well, the condenser for the central AC is much larger, and it's on the ground. But I think the reason for this is because, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, I think it's easier to install this now because of,
Yeah, so
not to do all the ductwork.
Right, on the interior, there will be no ductwork. So sometimes if you'll go into an office building, you may see something on the wall above head height, which is producing heat or air conditioning, depending on the season. And that's what this is. It's called a mini split, and it's ductless. So the condenser still exists, they just wall mount it, and they wall mount it a little higher because of snow. The unit has to run in the winter as well, because
Yeah.
it can produce heat. So they'll mount it on the wall and mount it a little higher, and then there are no ducts.
But it's an intrusion into the building.
It does go up.
Whereas another condenser or compressor, I don't really know the terms, is freestanding.
It's usually ground mounted.
Yeah.
Right, it sits on the ground would be the only difference. You still have an intrusion into the building, you still have to get the line sets in there and the power and other
Yeah, sure,
things.
yeah.
And all the ductwork, right?
Well, inside the building would be all the
Yeah.
ductwork, yes.
Well, there could be existing ductwork
Yeah.
that they could use.
I don't know how they get their heat now. I don't know if it's forced hot water. It must be.
It looks like they want to put the unit as far back on the main house as they can,
Yeah.
kind of near this third window, is that
Oh, other side. Yeah, the left-hand side there.
this side?
You correct.
Oh, yeah, so it's not on the driveway side.
No.
And they're going to pop out all those AC units, is that what?
Yes.
Yeah,
That seems like a plus.
yeah. You guys think this is something we need to discuss with the applicant, or do you think it's pretty straightforward?
That feels pretty straightforward.
Okay.
That seems like a vast improvement.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll call him and let him know.
Okay, so just back to 219 Main, now that everyone's here. Thanks for coming, sorry about that, we got started a little bit early. one more time, do you want to give just a real quick refresher? I'm sorry to make you through it, John. Just the major changes, the buildings on the site.
So the two main site plan changes based on our site visit was the main building moving 5 feet away from the street and 3 feet closer to the right side lot line, the north lot line. And the other site modification was the garage rotating slightly 15 degrees instead of being perfectly parallel to the house, which is parallel to this portion of Main Street, or this portion, I should say. And the setback of the front ends up being 35 feet, and required setback is 25. So it's 10 feet farther than where zoning requires it to be. The existing curb cut remains and gets utilized for the new driveway. And then architecturally, we just added more information into the drawings and more specifics about dimensions, materials, and some of the details of the building.
Paul, do you have any questions or comments? You want to step up to the mic and just let everyone know your address on Main Street?
For the record, my name's Paul Healy, 209 Main Street. I'd just be curious as to know what the detail is, and then I just have a few general comments.
Detail of the building?
Well, clapboards on the front.
Correct.
You know, shingles on the side.
Got clapboards all around. Wood trim, wood doors, solid wood doors, and solid wood windows. And 6/6 windows. The roof, the number one choice right now is red cedar, but as an alternative, it may be asphalt, depending on cost. The preference is red cedar. And there is a water table detail close to the ground that wraps around, almost like a base trim. And that's the only piece that's allowed to be in AZEK or solid PVC, which is going to look like painted wood, but everything else is real painted wood, trim-wise.
Although, and suggestion.
Yes, the second piece would be this slight drip edge for the shelf detail at that gable. There's a 6-inch shelf projecting out to create a shadow line to break up that facade, to break up the height of that. And the top of that piece, that shelf where the water is going to drain off of, was allowed to be a solid PVC. And then there's a small bay window off of the kitchen. It has a very small roof, and we discussed that mini roof being copper. That would age out naturally.
Esther Healy, I'm Paul's wife, 209 Main Street.
Oh,
Kate.
Esther, I'm sorry, you have to come up to the, yes, you do.
Hi, Esther Healy, 209 Main Street. Will you be able to see the French doors from the street? This set?
No, those are actually at the complete opposite, complete back of the property, so
Good.
they're
Yeah.
currently here and here.
Oh, excellent. Okay, excellent.
Jim talked about doing, some preliminary landscape features, pea stone driveway and brick connector with the walkway between the garage and the main house too. Changes that aren't depicted there, but. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Fabro, any questions?
No additional questions.
I think the orientation, we talked a little about earlier before you came, just in terms of getting it a little bit away from the hill there.
Right.
And kind of redirecting it so it's more parallel with Main Street and the curve there, so. Paul?
Just like to comment generally, my name is Paul Healy. I live next door to the house at 215 Main Street. Been there over a half a century, so seeing the landscape change is it's a change for us. But having said that, I've met with Mr. Magner, I've talked with him, and I believe he's going to be a good neighbor. And what I see here is evidence of that, especially when he's protecting the slope, protecting the walls. That's important because that's a dry stone wall. It's been there forever, it hasn't moved at all. And I look at this in relation to 215, 217 as well. I think it's important that this be in harmony with those two existing buildings that are homes or houses. So I went out on the site visit, as you know, and I think Mr. Magner's been open to the suggestions that have been made to him about this property. So that's my comments.
Thank you. Anything else? You guys want to go through the worksheet, go briefly, make sure we didn't miss anything? Okay, so we have a set of criteria that we review for new construction and changes to the historic district. You may have gone through this before with your previous building, but we'll just go through it again. In terms of the site, does the new building reflect the site factors that are common on the street in terms of setbacks, orientation to the street, spacing, distance from adjacent buildings, visibility from a public way?
Yes.
I think you've made some nice modifications to the setbacks, moving the main house back a little bit, changing the orientation of the buildings. I think that works really well with the with Main Street, so I appreciate you doing that. We talked a little about the spacing between the garage and the house. I think that works out well. I think it's, if you look at some of the other buildings on the street, I think it's very appropriate in terms of how you've designed that. Distance from adjacent buildings, I don't think this is crowding at all. I don't think this is, working with the site. I don't think you're overpowering this site and just jamming as much as you possibly can onto this lot. So I think it works out really well. Is the proposed new addition placed so that it will minimize the visual impact on the historic structure? So this is not a new addition, but I don't think there's any visual impact to the other buildings in the street. Agreed? Agreed. Scale, is the scale of new construction consistent with the width to height proportions and floor to floor proportions when compared to adjacent structures into the site?
Yes.
Does the new addition overpower the existing historic building? No. Okay, is the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and other historic buildings in the streetscape in terms of height, design, materials, roof forms, foundation, and footprint?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, height. Is the height of the new construction compatible with the adjacent historic buildings and other historic buildings in the streetscape? John, just for the record, what's the height of the cape?
Currently, from the first floor level to the top of the ridge is 23. To the ground will be about 25 and plus minus feet to the top of the ridge.
Okay, so very classic, typical cape in terms of height, which we think is appropriate for the street and works out well with the other buildings in the streetscape. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a harmonious relation of each part facade of the building to the whole?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Rhythm. Does new construction reflect the rhythm of the surrounding buildings in a manner that contributes to the special character of the district?
Yes.
Is the design of the new construction architecturally compatible with the surrounding buildings that contribute to the overall character of the historic district?
Yes.
Materials, are the materials proposed for the new construction compatible with the historic materials and finishes found in the surrounding buildings or the existing building, if in addition, that contribute to the special character of the historic district?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about this. All simulated divided light wood, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And wood doors, and and windows, garage doors to be all wood. Are the windows and doors proposed for the new construction compatible with those surrounding buildings that contribute to the special character of the historic district with respect to material, subdivision, proportion, pattern, and detail?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Roof forms and pitches of the new construction consistent with the adjacent historic buildings?
Yes.
Will the new construction affect the overall character of the historic streetscape in this location with respect to the site, character defining site features, trees, and historical significant vistas and views?
Yes, but
Not
positively.
negatively, right.
Yep, no impact detrimentally. Okay. Zoning is the new construction cited so that it's consistent with the setbacks of other buildings in the streetscape? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's no demolition here that's involved. A few trees, okay, and those have all been marked. Anything else that we should? Anything else? Okay. Any other questions from the audience at this point? Okay. You guys want to take a vote, make a motion? We ready?
Yes.
You want to do it, Ben?
Sure.
Thank you. It's 219 Main.
Right, okay. I'd like to make a motion for 219 Main Street. Plans dated August 15th, 2019. I'll start with A 0.2, driveway cobble apron, crushed stone drive, cobble apron at the garage.
Yes.
And then a brick connector from the garage to the house. That would be like a city hall paver, something we've approved before. Color to be determined and submitted
Nothing yet.
according to the palette.
The house color.
House
and the-
color,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Exterior light fixture cuts to be submitted at a later date, submitted to Andrea. Let's see. Plans as indicated with the exception of the south elevation box bay window, a copper roof to weather. The house facing Main Street, copper gutters, K-style copper gutters with round downspouts. There may be aluminum on other facades, K-style. Window and door schedule is indicated on plan. All trim to be wood except where noted at the water table and the shelf detail found on gable ends of both garage and in-house. Those would be PVC. I think I've got all the changes.
Light fixtures to be submitted
Yeah, you
at a later date. Granite steps.
Oh, the front.
To be used on the front. Do you want to do those on the sides too, or do you want to stay with the wood on the sides?
Just that one side, I would say both, but the granite steps at the side as well.
So we're doing a rock face or a
Rough granite.
rough granite, okay. So a recycled granite
At entryways.
at entryways.
Keystone driveway.
Yep, got that.
Red brick,
A city hall paver.
City Hall paver.
We've approved before.
Design.
Oh,
You want to,
is that a running bond?
Whatever you guys.
Running bond would be typical of the
okay.
era.
Okay. Removal of trees as indicated during the site visit, marked by
Orange.
tape, orange tape. Curb cut to remain on the street. Anything else? Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you for going through that a few times. Thank you all for coming too. Sorry we got to get started a little bit later. I'm glad you could be here to listen to that. And thanks for the input too. All right. All right.
My clock says 8:30.
Oh,
Okay. So I'm a few minutes early.
4 minutes of fun facts?
Oh, I All right. John, can you give me a call tomorrow, please? Thank you, I'd appreciate it. Okay, now, you're
So-
gonna love this. Uh-oh.
We usually do.
Oh, he was,
You're joking, right?
AFL-CIO.
Yes,
He was head of,
yes. Yep.
yeah, and, so, big in Detroit, and wielded a lot of power, and apparently someone didn't care for him so much. So, okay, so, on Monday, August the 5th, Cleveland, Ohio, installed the first electric traffic light in 1914. So remember that.
So when was the first ticket issued?
That's a good question. I don't know that.
It's not part of your fun facts.
No, it's not part of my fun facts. Don't get too pushy there. All right, so the first commercial radio station begins operations in Detroit, Michigan in 1920, the first commercial radio station. So another first for the Motor City.
You're from Michigan, aren't you? I mean, for the record.
I lived, yes, outside of Detroit, and
She has Michigan leanings.
I am a Motown fan.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
On my iPhone, it just appeared, trivia quizzes.
Yes.
All day long. Would you be responsible for that?
Hijacked her phone.
No. But,
Oops, sorry.
so, now this is important. Motown releases its first hit, Please Mr. Postman, by the Marvelettes in 1961. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Keep going.
Somebody told you that. You didn't know that, right? Because you're not old enough to know that.
No,
Whoa,
Well,
Mr. Postman.
yeah, Mr. Postman,
My
wait and
goodness.
see.
Only one more minute of fun facts.
If there's a card or a letter in your bag for me.
This is good. This is going to go down in history, this meeting.
Okay.
I hope Sherry's getting all this down.
Mr.
I think Barry,
Postman, is there a card or a letter in your bag?
I'm getting texts from Barry Gordy right now. You guys tone it down a little bit.
Yeah,
It just
right.
doesn't sound so good.
Okay, so I think I have taken care of August. So,
You've taken care of time.
Did we cover July? I don't think we got fun facts for July.
except, no, that's why I brought up the Jimmy Hoffa.
Okay.
Oh, the District of Columbia is established as the capital of the United States in 1790 on July the 16th. And let's see. Well, I think that's it. Nothing else that was fun in July. Okay, we're all
Wonderful.
set.
Thank you.
We're on to September.
All right.
Oh, I can't reveal September, but there's
Yeah,
another
let's-
Motown fact.
Let's hold that for next meeting. All right.
In case we break out singing.
Voting members for this application will be the five of us up here, just so everyone knows. And with that, 66 Main Street is here. This is an application that we received recently for Father Bill's and Mainspring. Most of the work here is going to be window work, I believe, along with some other restoration in the house. It was very helpful to be out last weekend to see what was going on, so thanks for coming in. And it's Jen, right?
Jen,
My name is Jennifer Weiss Donovan.
yes.
Jennifer Weiss Donovan.
Right.
And I am the owner's project manager for Father Bill's in Mainspring. And some of you I met the other day, but just to recap, I am an architect and I am on a historical commission, so I completely respect and understand everything that has to be done here. Let me just put this. Okay, so basically, 66 Main Street, Rust House, is approximately 1840s, and it is technically on the Form B, I believe it's called, is classified as Greek Revival, and I think it's just because originally it had this gable front on the front of the house, but over time, things were modified and done to it. One of the things done to it was vinyl siding was put on the house, which we are going to take off. The intent for general maintenance at this house is taking off the vinyl siding and replacing with red cedar clapboards and either stain or, right now we're intending to do prime, and then paint in the historical colors, yet to be determined. Part of the maintenance, we're replacing the front door and the back door in kind with wood. The front door has a glass panel and 2 side lights. The back door will be similar to what's here. It has a glass panel in it. The windows, which is mainly the thing that we're here to talk about, and maybe some of the trim, but the windows are 6/1, and there are 2 windows in the back that are currently aluminum clad, but the rest are wood inside, wood outside. So what we're proposing is Marvin Ultimate, wood inside, outside, simulated divided light. We're not touching, there's only a couple of windows we're not touching. We're not touching this, we call it kind of the special window, which is on a stair landing. We're not touching that one. We are not touching the 2 awning windows up here. They're fine, and we're not touching this little portico type window. Total, there's 28 windows. They're various sizes. The 2, by the way, that are currently aluminum clad are back here. Obviously, this is the street front. This is the driveway side, which you can somewhat see, but there are a lot of trees out front. This is the side that faces the open lot that used to have a house on it, which is now wide and open. And then the back, which faces a hill and cemetery. So what we are basically proposing is, like I said, the Marvin Ultimate wood, and asking if that will be acceptable. And then the windows would be painted in the colors that they're in, just white. And there, I know that there's approved whites in here as well that we would look at. One mention of the front door and the back door we would do in the dark color, a dark green or black that would be recommended, suggested. And in terms of the trims, they're going to be sanded down, repaired if necessary, but in most cases we're hoping they're in pretty good shape. Just sanded down, repaired, painted as they are. There are a couple of places where when they did the vinyl siding, there are some vinyl window trims that we'd like to have that replaced so that they're more pure and wood. And we're not quite sure what we're going to find when we take the vinyl siding off in terms of the water table. Right now, the corner boards are all vinyl, but when we take the vinyl siding off, we're not sure what we're going to find in terms of damage or where the water table sits against the masonry. So I wanted to inquire if there's a possibility of doing like a boral product in places where we think there could be a water problem. Understanding that may not work, but we'd like to propose that. The other thing that we'd like to ask about is if in any of the windows that are in the back, if we would be allowed to do aluminum clad because they're in the back, basically given the expense of the wood windows versus the aluminum clad, I don't know if I said vinyl, the aluminum clad windows, there would be a little bit of a cost savings for Father Bills. But with that said, Father Bills is very excited about getting this project done. They want to make everybody happy, and if we need to just do wooden windows all the way around and wood trims, we completely understand. But we are just looking for some places to do some cost savings if possible.
Okay.
That's basically what I have.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate you coming in. Just before we get started, what this home does for the community is really important. We're behind you 100%. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I hope it continues for years to come. So thanks for doing that. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yep.
don't know if you wanted to hear from Mr. Bickford yet, or
Yeah, definitely
Now?
take some
Okay.
comments from the,
Peter, you wanna,
Or is there doing our work?
do you wanna come and,
Do you have any comments about what we're doing?
No, I think that house needs.
you have to come up here, Peter, sorry.
Peter Bickford, 65 Lozelle Street. We've been obviously through the house, and the vinyl siding is a real distraction for the house. So we're going to try and take all that off, restore what's there, repair, restore, and replace the windows. It's a Father Bill's intent to make this house as low maintenance as they can because of the nature of what's going on in the house. But keep the integrity and the look of the house. So, talking with Jen, I suggested that we go with the Marvin Ultimate windows if they're gonna be replaced, because I've dealt with you before in some of the houses we've done. And that's what we use, and in my opinion, that's the most authentic look you can replicate. So I just support what they're doing and would look forward to working with them and with you.
Great. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
Anything else?
What's the timeframe when you plan to?
As soon as possible in the fall.
I'm sorry, the question from Mrs. Young was, when do you intend to get started on the work?
We would like to get started as soon as possible. September, if that will fit into, to basically do this project in the fall is when we would like to do it. Fingers crossed that schedule works, but that, it seems completely reasonable that we can do that in the fall.
Okay, good. Thanks for having us out. It's very helpful. We're able to walk around, look at all the different windows, check out the vinyl. It is vinyl. So, you got some work ahead of you, so we understand that. Who would like to start off with questions, comments?
I can start.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful idea that you're removing this vinyl siding. It's really going to help the house tremendously. And, I noticed some of the dormers already have red cedar on them, so we can get an idea of what it will look like. It will be a wonderful transformation. As for the windows, my main concern is the original volume. My preference would be a restoration of those original windows in the main volume. I'm not so concerned about the additions off the back, but I would like to see the main volume windows restored. Is the front door in scope?
The front door is yes, it's a maintenance scope.
Okay, so you're going to keep that but restore it?
No, the front door is
Replaced.
being replaced,
Okay.
and some repairs to the front stoop and the trim around the front door.
My concern about the front door is it's actually mentioned in the Form B.
Yeah.
And so, again, I would like to see that restored. And no concerns, personally, for this member of the board, I have no concerns about any of the other windows outside of the main volume.
What do you think about the, restoring the windows? Peter, what's your view on, you know?
Here, can you step up to the mic? Sorry.
We're not, I get the cost piece of it, you know, we're not supposed to consider it, but, you know, I think we should talk about it a little bit, whether there is a savings here, whether you can do a restoration, and, you know, these are older windows, you know, it's old wood, maybe could last even longer if it's a restoration of those windows. You know, what are your thoughts once you?
Well, I think I've been before you enough times that yeah, anything can be restored and it's a question of cost. It's going to cost as much as or more to restore the windows as to replace them. You know, if they're the old rope and lead weight, or cast iron weight system, so that's all going to be taken apart, and the thickness of the sash comes into it. If it's not 1 3/8 sash, I haven't taken them apart, so I'm not 100% sure I haven't gotten to that point, but if they're not 1 3/8, and a lot of the old ones aren't, a lot of the pre-1920 and 30 houses aren't, then you have a problem with the side balance. So it's not an easy item to get, and doesn't work as well as getting, for instance, a Anderson or a Marvin side balance. Those you can easily get, but only, for instance, 3/8 sash. If not, you have to go to a lower grade side balance, and it becomes a problem. But as I said, sure, anything can be replaced. Again, after talking with Jen and after a lot of discussion, the best use, I guess, for the house and for future use would be to replace them as a low maintenance item. From here on in. If you restore the sash as they are, it's going to still be a ongoing maintenance problem, because you put the combination windows on, and you have the heat factor that really gets into the.
What do you think about the vinyl issue once you take the vinyl off and, you know, some of the windows exposed? You know, how would you address that if the windows were restored, you know, you kept them, but, you know, when you peel off the vinyl, there's some issues there underneath. There's some rot. There's some sill issues. There's some trim issues with the window, and you're kind of just left with. I don't know. It's kind of like once you get in there, you'll figure it out. Is that right?
Yeah, but you know, you're gonna have to replace the casings and maybe the stools, because all the vinyl is tacked into that. So they could be compromised. And basically, that's why it's so expensive. You probably have to take the whole window out, replace a stool, replace some of the jambs, the casing. It's quite a process to restore them. I'm sure you know, you've heard it from other sources.
And they are having problems with leaking currently, and deterioration and the single glazed windows.
Yeah. What was your thought on the age of those, Ben? What were your?
They
best
appear to be
guess?
original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Old glass. I mean, you can see the old glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, You know, for me, this is a dilemma in a sense that the mission, I'm very sensitive to the mission of Father Bill's professionally over many decades. But at the same time, I think our job is the building and respecting the building with no disrespect to the mission of Father Bill's, frankly. So I just want to make that clear. I think, you know, the history, you know, Monique Lehner's report is a very interesting, informative report about the history of the building in light of the history of Peoples in Hingham, particularly downtown Peoples. And I think that needs to be regarded. Therefore, I think, and I understand the dilemma between restoration and replacement, but I think there's nothing like an old window. You know, and if the windows or some of them can be restored for the characterological influence of the building, I think it ought to be. And I think it could be potentially cost-effective in the long run and very in keeping with a respect for the building. And, you know, I think the people who are served in the building deserve a respectful building, and it's an antique one. So that would be my preference, frankly. I mean, I understand maybe not the ones that aren't street side. You know, surely that's not our jurisdiction. Oh my gosh, is it great that you're going to take off the vinyl clapboarding. You know, I would have some question about replacing the front door, since it looks to me, just from the photograph, I wasn't able to go to the site visit, but looking at it from the photograph, you know, it looks like an antique door that I think would be worthy of restoration, and particularly since it's mentioned with the side panes in the Form B, you know. So that's where I stand about it.
So you have some flexibility in the rear of the building?
Well, only because it's not visible from the street. I think for the integrity of the building,
Yeah.
if every window that's worthy of restoration can be restored, I think that's the way to go, but that's not our jurisdiction.
Perhaps the windows in the rear, the original windows in the rear could provide some replacement materials that might assist in maintaining and
Yeah.
keeping the windows in the main body of the house that are, so I think there's flexibility in the rear, but boy, really would love to keep those windows.
I'm persuaded by Ben's presentation about maintaining the ones in the original part of the building, and focusing on that. That is what's most visible, well, once the shrubs are cut, will be the most visible. And I think that is, that's suitable for the home. I understand some of the challenges in the back, so I would go along with Ben's recommendation.
Is this something that if there was an unworkable kind of situation where you could come back to us with the main body of the building, or, you know, this is beyond repair, you know, this is just, you know, this is not workable, you can come back to us? Is that something that you would be amenable to?
Yeah, I mean, whatever's going to accomplish some improvement,
Yeah.
but definitely keep the character of the house and
Okay.
keep everybody happy.
Okay. How does the commission feel about the boral being used in this case with this aluminum siding, or not aluminum, but this vinyl siding coming off?
Where's the boral being used?
It's being suggested in
table?
the sense that we have some unforeseen conditions under the vinyl siding. in terms of where the water table is, where there's contact with the masonry foundation. We're not sure what we're getting into. And if that comes off and presuming there's wood under there, I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at any of that. If the wood comes off there and we find that that's really just a damp, problematic location, is it up for consideration to be able to do a water table in a boral material, or is it just not, an option? Certainly, window trims, wood, corner boards, wood. We're not taking any of the existing wood trims, like here off. None of that. It's literally just where we have contact. We don't really have siding sitting in a puddle, which I've had on projects before, where we've used boral. But this is primarily where it's in contact with damp masonry that may cause a problem.
So we have approved synthetics at the water table level,
Yeah.
composites at the water table level. So the boral, would you just match the profile of what's already there, but just use the
Sure.
boral as the?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yep.
So when you talk about the main body of the house, you are talking about this,
Yes.
okay,
And the opposite gable to this one here. Do
okay.
we have a picture of
So
that?
that, I was gonna ask for clarification on that too, just in terms of front.
Yes.
Is it front side here? Or this whole, I mean, I can tell what I think are original
Right.
windows, because they've got the very nice trim.
Right.
Whereas, that wasn't an original piece, so that's not original. But those 5 are, and that one is not, but that one probably is. That one maybe. No, that's just part of an addition.
Correct.
But I think the other question is, are they old and worthy? Not just simply, what's the criteria for a window? It's age or the worthiness as well.
Here's the other side then.
Yeah, these here. You can see the old, the lintels.
Yeah.
The windows primarily closed all year round, or is there AC in the house? What's,
They have some,
Window
right there, there's
units.
like a window AC.
Mhm.
They have them, they're operating.
so they operate them?
The only one I think they really, well, even this one, I think they might have, one day when I was there, I think they might have had that window. But we're not touching that one, but I've been that one here a couple of years.
I don't know if I answered the question about.
Main body?
Yeah, the main body. On the east elevation, I would argue from the bulkhead back is not. Nor is it even visible from the street. So the applicant would have the ability to do what they want there with those
Be their
windows,
option.
yes. And certainly in the rear, outside of
Okay.
jurisdiction. I mean, some of the commission members, you can let me know if you agree. Obviously, the front facade. Then on the left-hand side, you can see the original, what appears to be the original lintels on those windows going towards the back. It's hard to say what's going on with that addition in the back. I don't know if that's.
Well, that's certainly more visible, that west side on Main Street versus the,
Yep.
the other, the right side of the house. So, those windows on the addition might be a little bit older on that side. But those are the ones that are predominantly visible. Agreed?
They are visible, right, because the Thomas Baker house is no longer there. I mean, I would feel comfortable with the applicant making the decision on those final windows there, based on their health,
You're talking
their
about
condition.
this here.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, the last piece.
Behind the main volume.
Right.
Yep.
What about the second floor? Those aren't original, correct?
They don't appear to be, no,
They don't appear to be what, Ben? I'm sorry.
original.
No.
Did you want to do work on those? On the second floor windows?
Yes,
Those are in scope.
Okay.
basically all windows except for the special window, the awnings.
Okay. All right. So maybe we can leave the second floor at their discretion. Those sheds.
I would, I mean, I can't see them from the ground level, but if they are of the same age, then I would ask that they be restored as the others. You know, there's a note in here about the front facade and addition being added to the right where that dormer is. And that was in 1896? Now, it does say this could have meant, in this 1896 Hingham Journal article, this could have meant the widening of the facade by one bay. That, to me, is an indication that it's the dormer. Right. And I too, I'm sensitive to how the building's being used. I'm sensitive to that.
So, you would be talking about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, the 3 windows on the front facade, correct, Ben? These 3 here.
On the first floor,
On the first floor, and
the 3 on the second,
the 3 on the second floor.
in the front facade.
Okay.
And that's all you can see from the street, right? Those 6?
No, I think you can see, you can,
That's
Yeah,
just the front facade,
you
Virginia.
can see, the Thomas Baker House was here, you can see these as well from the street.
Ah. You know, at the risk of being a curmudgeon, we can't make a decision based on the current use of the house, because the current use of the house has changed over time. I do think we have to be sensitive to it, but I don't think we should base our opinion on usage.
Peter, would you be able to, if you were going to restore the existing windows on the main volume of the house, would you be able to do that in your shop?
Sure.
The other request was for vinyl in the rear,
Vinyl windows. Yeah, anything.
or aluminum clad.
Aluminum clad, yeah. I mean, when you mean the rear, you mean the facade facing the rear?
Facing the cemetery.
Yeah.
But we don't have jurisdiction over that, right?
Right.
But we can opine about it?
Well, technically, we would consider the cemetery public,
I see. Okay.
although the question is, how many people,
We don't know the age of that addition.
right, I agree.
And we do approve true divided all wood windows in additions. I think in this case, it's acceptable for a clad unit.
Some of them are already,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
some
you're
are
right,
already.
Ronnie.
right?
These 2 are currently aluminum clad windows.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe even those awnings above.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go through this kind of window by window as best we can? Is that what you guys want to do here?
Yes.
I mean,
Sure.
let's just, all right, okay, front facade, we've got,
So we see 6 windows on the front.
let me get a picture here. front facade, we've got 1, 2, 3 plus the door. Those are to be restored.
So everything on the south elevation that is listed
Yes.
would be restored.
Okay, everything on the south, on that facade. And please chime in if you're not in agreement with this. On the right side of the house, main body, there's 1, 2, 3 windows. We're in agreement, those are to be restored?
Yes.
The driveway says only 2 that they're planning on working on.
Isn't that the southerly?
Yep,
The
south,
southern-
yep.
No, it's the
Yes.
east.
Well, the street, it's sort of southwest. so I call it
Southwest.
south.
Okay.
Yeah, I would call it south, too.
So east, I call the driveway.
Yep.
Okay, so any work to be done on that side, on the main body, those are going to be restored. Moving back on that elevation, on the driveway side, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 2 small windows above. Are we in agreement that those can be replaced?
Yes,
I would say yes.
Okay, any work to be done beyond that, those can be replaced.
yes.
So everything that
I think it's from the bulkhead
sits
pack.
Bulkhead
And we're
back.
calling this main body the bulkhead. Is that right?
In front of the bulkhead.
Oh, there's the bulkhead,
Right,
yes,
so
yes, the
two
bulkhead
windows.
back, yep.
So we're not touching the special window, but
Yeah,
everything behind here can be replaced.
that's correct.
And our rationale for that is that it can't be seen from the street?
Right.
Okay,
So, excuse me, just one second.
sure.
So are these, are you saying these,
At your discretion.
At your discretion.
They could be
okay,
replaced.
so just this gable that
From
we're talking
here,
about?
from here
Yes.
back could be replaced.
Okay.
And here, restored.
Okay.
Rear of the house could be vinyl clad, because that's not visible from a public way, including the,
They're aluminum clad.
including aluminum clad, I'm sorry, including the door.
Yes.
Are we in agreement there?
Yes.
Okay, on the left side, I think this is visible from the street. Are we all in agreement that all these windows should be restored?
I would like to see those 9 windows done, restored.
Okay, everything on that side to be restored.
There are 9 there?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And the 9 includes the second floor windows? Are
Yes.
those old? Yeah.
No, they're not original, I
They're not
don't think, right?
They're not original.
But I don't know when they were replaced, I mean, when they were added. the
Okay.
dormers.
Okay, are we all in agreement on that?
Agreement on that, and the applicant could come back to us if they
Okay.
discover otherwise.
Okay, yep, that's good.
Yes.
All right, in terms of the trim, replacement of the vinyl siding, so on the majority of this is going to be wood clapboard, is that kind of red cedar? And then when there's contact with the water table, you're going to, you can use boral, is that?
A synthetic of your choice that matches the profile of the existing?
Yeah. Are you going to paint this?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all going to be painted, so you'll be able to match the two, okay. What else are we leaving out that the applicant would
The
like to do?
door.
The door to be restored, the front door. And,
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Peter, are you intending, I was looking at the downspouts during the site visit. Were you going to leave those as is, or is there an opportunity to replace those with a non-corrugated, like a round?
I'm sure they gotta come down to, get into the trim and siding, so
Okay,
if,
if it's possible.
sure.
At least on the, they're, let me see.
They seem to be round and some are 2x3, rectangular. There's a
Uh-huh.
mixture.
Quarter board, what does that mean, to be replaced with composite?
let's ask.
Is just the cladding at the entryway being done, the steps are staying?
Yes. Yes, really, it was only door and trim around the door.
Do you want to ask?
Yeah, okay, there's a reference on the page with the front door. On the bottom, it says vinyl corner board to be replaced with composite. What is the corner board that's being referenced?
I think early on, we had talked about, that's probably a lingering note, I apologize.
Okay.
We had talked about, when we're taking these vinyl corner boards off, if there were gonna be problems down low where corner board was meeting up with the masonry, if that, like, as I said before, we're not sure what we're gonna run
Right,
into when we take all
right,
this off.
right.
So I'm not sure how the arrangement is, whether the water table's doing this with the corner board coming in, or whether the corner board's coming over it, or how it's
Okay.
working.
Yep, so
And
there's
we're
some
concerned with
discovery that will
engagement.
happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a case of, is there any consideration / leeway of being able to do that, to use the boral where needed? We don't want to cover the whole house in boral.
We approve where it's in contact with the ground.
And the water table.
And the water
And
table.
how does the commission feel about a vinyl corner board coming off and using a composite to replace the vinyl corner board?
I think in the past, when there's been something that we've, aluminum siding or vinyl siding, we've approved that.
Right.
As an upgrade.
Right.
So, you know,
So the boral corner board would be,
At your discretion.
Okay.
cement on the front steps, any proposed changes there?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I know it came up in discussion at the
Okay.
walkthrough.
Yep. The other thing we talked about was the hedge. I mean, once you do all this work, this is going to be a much improved change building. So if you want to take the hedge down or lower it, at your discretion, I think that would be a great improvement for this property. I mean, when you go by, you don't even know this house is there really. It just kind of, it's just, there's so much, it's growth but I think this is all going to be positive for that area. Once you get it done, so see what the folks living in the house want to do. They're
They
amenable to
love
it.
taking care of everything. They're always out there pruning bushes.
Ah, it's
planting
nice.
flowers. So they have a lot of pride in this house.
And has a house color been discussed?
No, we
To be
really wanted to
determined.
try
To be
to,
determined.
not lemon, pasty lemon yellow.
Right.
But, I've got the colors, and we were thinking, well, the original, you can see there's a hole knocked out of the siding over here. You can kind of see it was a goldish color, not as light as this, but something along the same,
To be
something that would
determined.
look about the same, like one of the beige putty kind of colors with the dark colored door and the off-white trim. So it wouldn't be a drastic change. Oh, we're not going to paint it bright red.
Anything else we're forgetting?
I don't think so.
We ready for a motion? Somebody want to tackle this, or with help?
I can do that.
Okay.
God love you, Ben.
I'd like to make a motion for 66 Main Street, removal of all vinyl siding, replacing it with a red cedar clapboard, restoration of front door and of 6 windows on front facade, 3 windows on driveway facade, and 9 windows on left-hand facade. Applicant to, let's see, bring any additional issues as to the restoration to our attention of those windows. All other windows at applicant's discretion. Let's see, corner boards, vinyl corner boards, synthetic materials permissible. It's a vinyl, you're replacing a vinyl. The water table, which is now concealed, existing profile to be matched in synthetic materials at the applicant's discretion. color to be determined and submitted to Andrea. Missing anything?
That's good.
That sounds good.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
I should have
Peter,
said
did
something earlier before you voted, but the front door stoop is vinyl now. The top, the
Yep.
top step that surrounds
Yep.
the door. How do we treat that?
If
That
it,
little composite?
yes, if there's vinyl, there,
So
yeah.
we've got a choice.
It can be a like-kind exchange, yeah.
Yeah.
Any comments? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jennifer.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
So I'll talk to you, Jen.
All right, last item on the agenda as far as applications is 222 North Street. Roger Hoyt's here to talk about some windows that he'd like to put in for an addition that we previously approved. How you doing, Roger?
Do you need help? You slip those, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, you need help. Maybe you can sit.
Here are your windows.
Thank you, Ben. You know what I did? So I wrote on here. Excuse me.
Did you start the work? Has the work started yet?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Roger.
It's coming along quite well, yes. This is now the gating item.
We can share.
We can share.
All right, thank you.
So, Marion Brazil, owner.
Hi, Marion.
Roger Hoyt, architect. We actually had a report until yesterday that you had actually approved the use of the integrity window in a similar project down, which I think is the last pictures on the, of the package I just gave you, which is at 279 North Street. And my understanding there was that the windows facing the rear, like ours do, back towards the back side of the site, were actually approved as integrities. And so we wanted to just bring to your attention the 21 windows that are in the main front facade, left side and right side, are all in reasonably good condition, and it's our intent to fix them so that they remain as is. The thing about this house that I guess I hadn't realized when I first started was that all of the casings stand about 2.5 inches proud of the line of clapboard. So they're really, I mean, if you can't really tell in the pictures, but actually you may get a sense of that on the...
You can see it in the picture, yeah. They really are out there. Yeah, they sure are.
And the windows themselves, we've actually taken a couple of sash out and we've started repairs, so that it's our intention to, on all 3 of those sides of the main body of the main body of the house, to restore those windows and use them. We did find, and I'm sorry, I didn't number these sheets, but on A18, we had asked in our original presentation to you to install a third window on that first level. That happened to be right in the middle of an 8x8 that was holding up half the house. So,
Oh, well.
Marion being very cost-conscious, we'd like to remove that window from consideration, which means if you look at the existing elevation, and the only thing we've done is to move those two windows that are on the left side of that right side elevation over in order to accommodate the bedroom layout, which is up on the second floor. So all 21 of those windows will be restored, and I have a big R on the plans, the elevations.
Restored ones.
Yes.
Yep. And an X where there's a column.
Correct, where we're
Yes,
Yeah.
there's
talking
a
about
major
not putting
beam.
one.
Right.
And then, when we were here with you before, you had approved our use of the ultimate windows on the house facing directly back towards the new carriage house that's right behind. And we would like to consider the use of the integrity window versus the ultimate. There's about a 50% increase in cost in the ultimate, and it's really, you cannot see from the North Street as you're coming from the firehouse down towards town. That addition is 22 feet back of the face of the main block of the house, so that it's very hard to see even from the stop street at Thaxter, that section. And on that side, which would be on on A20, we are basically, we've made that rear L 4 feet wider, and we've taken the porch, which is a three-season porch, and moved it over the same 4 feet that we added to make the kitchen work on the back side. So there are 3 windows that are exposed on that piece. All of the 3 main sides of the house are clapboard, and again, the condition of that clapboard is in reasonably good shape. The back of the house, which originally, if you look at the picture in front, bottom right and bottom left, you can see that the back of the house was shingled, and it's our intention to maintain that shingle look on the back, both the main block of the house as well as the addition. And so what we were hoping to be able to do would be to use those windows on on that left side of the addition, which there are 3 exposed. There's a window in the kitchen over the sink that actually opens into the porch area, the 3-season porch. So I indicated that sort of inside the porch glass and screen units. So there are 3 units on that side, and there are then 3 units on the south side that would also be, we're requesting to be able to use the integrity windows there as well. If you look at the picture in front, the upper right picture, you can see that the house directly to the right of this, that line that's dark just to the left of the tree is actually the existing corner and the new corner of the back L.
Right.
And
I can
you-
remember during the site visit, standing and trying to see it. It is a little tough to
You
see.
can't see
Yeah.
that from that side.
Yeah.
So the request would be that we could use in the shingled area the integrity window, right around, and I think that the total of that was 17, I believe, is what I had come up with. Excuse me, 18. 18 windows of the integrities around those three sides of the addition, the back addition, which is all shingled, so that they would all look the same in that profile. Did anyone ever bring you a sample of these windows?
No, I think, not that I remember.
So, this is the ultimate, and from a standpoint, unfortunately, this has got the larger muntin. This is actually the muntin size that, which is the 3/4, which we want to use. It just so happens that this particular window, but if you look at it, all of these have the historic sills, and this is basically a painted wood finish on the outside of the ultimate. This is
all wood window.
That's an all wood window.
All wood, and it's got an SDL divider in there, right? Right.
Yes. This is the integrity window, and really, it's unfortunate that what we don't have is we don't have a casing on this one like you have the casing on that one. But when I took the pictures of the 279, it's actually very interesting on the side that, again, facing North Street coming towards town. You've got repaired windows in the front. You've actually, on that main body of that house, you have what is the ultimate window in the kitchen. And then on the back side, you have the integrity windows. What we would hope that we could do would be to use this integrity window on the three sides of the rear addition. And the only difference I think you'll see is when the casing goes on this, the casing comes flush with this piece of trim on this window. And it's our intention
But
to...
the trim that we see here is exposed to the outside, the trim doesn't cover, the casing doesn't cover that, it comes up.
Yeah, the casing is actually, the casing is out here, right around this, and it's flush with this. Whereas in the...
So this is recessed, is that
That's
what you're saying?
recessed, right.
Okay, so it wouldn't look like this, it would be flat.
Now, one of the things we're talking about to match everything else that we like so much about this house is actually to build this casing out that same 2 inches so that the actual face of this casing around this window will look almost exactly like this and what we see in the existing house. The only thing is that the aluminum storm and screen windows cover, in other words, that the aluminum screen comes right on the face of the casing, which it would do here too. But having this built out, that extra thickness would match what's happening in the rest of the house and give that same profile with this window that you get here. I noticed also in that house on 279 that they used half screens. In those, we would want to use a full screen, which gives you, so that you have the same look of the sash top and bottom. And I think it would make a tremendous difference in terms of the overall appearance. So that was be our request. I think the plans and the elevations with the designations on them show the 3 sides of the addition as well as the main 3 sides of the main body of the house.
What is the difference, other than what you've said, Roger, what is the difference between the integrity and the Ultima?
This integrity has what they call Ultrex.
So it's composite?
Yes. So this is a actual, it's not vinyl, but it's a fiberglass.
Yeah.
That is in front of the actual sash itself is made of wood.
Yeah.
As opposed to this, which is solid wood painted with X number of coats of
Yeah.
of exterior paint. But I think if you look, and again, it's unfortunately it's slightly different, but it's very hard, especially in that rear elevation, the rear L of this house, that if you're looking at this either from North Street or anywhere that you can see it, even from the sidewalk on the right side of this house, that, you know, you'd be hard pressed to tell which window it was. So I wanted to just bring these so you could see. As they say, I had priced them both with Cape Cod lumber and with Hingham lumber. And actually, I was somewhat surprised Hingham lumber was a better price, which is great for us locals here. But it's about 45 to 50% more expensive to purchase that than it is this. And I think, without the storm sash, the recess that you have, especially if we use the thicker casing around this, gives really a nice, recess to this and profile. So
Yeah.
the window is actually set back the way it would have been before aluminum storms were involved. So that was our request of you.
So the casing, would that be ordered, that come from the manufacturer, the modified casing?
This casing will actually be built, we just did this in a 1780s house in Hanover. And we used the thicker casing, and the casing is actually
So
made.
you're going to build that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually made to fit right around this unit. And give us the profile we're looking for.
So just for clarification, on 279, that property, we made the determination that you couldn't see anything from the rear of the property. So, we didn't have any jurisdiction over what they were doing back there. So that was we left it up to the homeowner in terms of the window placement. I'm trying to recall what windows we did approve here. I don't have the application in front of me, but.
Those that are in the main block are the ultimates.
Those are ultimates.
Those are an all-wood window.
Yeah, okay, so,
But that window is like,
Yep.
that plane is about a foot back from the
Gotcha.
face of the house.
Yep.
Whereas in our case, we're about, 22 feet back.
yeah, so Roger, I guess, for me, we walked around this property a few months back, and, there was some of it you could see, some of it you couldn't. There was, if you walk back on Baxter, and you look down, a few hundred yards, you can see the back, right? But it was, so far off in the distance. So, again, for this commission, if you can't see it from the, from the rear, from a public way, then, you can put the window in that you want. That's how we operate. So,
Yeah, and as far as the east side elevation, you really have to twist to see it.
Sort of have to look around the
You
house next
really-
door, it's very
You
close.
have to really be trying hard to see it.
You have to walk down the
You
driveway.
do.
Yeah.
You do.
See that.
So I think it's great you're restoring everything up front and the facades that we can see. And, towards the rear, again, I know from sitting up on Baxter, you got to be you're way up in the distance and you can see the rear of this house. So, it's very distant.
And I don't think we have any heartache over not having the window that's where the column has been found.
I mean, when we have new construction, most applicants, whether you can see it or not, are putting in simulated divided light wood windows. That's what they're putting in. So, I think our first choice would encourage you to go in that direction, but, if it's not visible, then, you can go in another direction.
Well, and you can go in another direction because we have no say over the direction.
Right. Yes, and the beautiful big beam, I really would like to expose it
rather than cut it for a window. I'd rather
Yeah.
leave it. It's beautiful and it's pegged, and it just looks
Terrific.
lovely.
We've taken some terrific pictures. The entire roof structure has all the wood dowels, connectors. It's a spectacular. It's the way it was when it was put up 275 years ago. It's really fun to have a chance to expose it and
So I'm
see it
not
inside.
hearing any objection to your proposal and enthusiasm over the restoration choice you're making.
To answer the economic portion of this, which we're not allowed to look at, but have you looked at Boston Sash and Brosco as an alternative to?
Or have the whole
Yes.
windows. Yeah.
Yeah, we did, I think, one of the last jobs we did, when we came before you, we used the Boston sash with the, but I think that the issue there, and again, you know, 75% of the heat loss in a building like this is going out through the roof. That very little of it, you know, the actual window square footage itself is affecting a minor part, but I think it's also, from our standpoint, the operation of these windows that are so much better than the Boston sash, that we think that this is, you know, given where it is on the house, a reasonable alternative to the Boston sash. And by the time you put an aluminum storm screen on top of the Boston sash, it's somewhat less, but not, you know, significantly to what we're talking about with the Marvin Integrity.
And they're strictly a single glaze outfit, they don't
Yes.
do okay.
It used to be Marvin actually made a single glazed window with a storm panel insert that was
Yeah.
flush with the outside, which we have on our house. But they don't make that piece anymore.
Anybody have any issues with what Roger's proposing here?
Let me see if I really understand this, that you can't see what the windows you're proposing are for what cannot be seen from a public way.
Yeah, I mean, again, when we first walked out there, it was, I think, in February or March, and there were no leaves on the trees. If you stood up on Thaxter, you could actually see the back of this house,
Right.
but it was 400 feet away. I mean, you couldn't see any detail on this piece of house from Thaxter. You can't see it at all as you come around the corner on North Street, because it's set back 22 feet from the face of the main body of the house. So can you see, I think, you know, as I was saying, you can see it from Thaxter. You can see it from a block away.
Yeah.
But you really
But you
can't
couldn't
tell
tell. Yeah, it's
what
very far
what it
away.
is.
It's very far away.
So far off.
So the question is, what is the definition of seeing?
From a public way.
Yeah.
I've never known us to judge depth from a public way.
Meaning,
I've never known us to break it down into distance, if it's visible from a public way. I've never known us to say, well, okay, that's 200 yards, so we'll allow the applicant to make the decision.
I get it. So you see it or you don't?
Right.
Yeah, I walked Thaxter Monday of this week. And at this time of year, you can't see it. You can't see it. Can't see the house.
So for me, this commission member, I'm comfortable with the east side because it's wedged in between the building there. I am not comfortable with what is visible from Thaxter. I would want to see consistency and all that old wood window.
Okay, and again, that's, because you tell, for instance, if we've used the ultimate on that, what I say is the south side, and then used the integrity on the east, and the would be the north and the west. It was the back face. What I was trying to do, Ben, was to say, okay, this is all shingled, it all has a different look to it than the main part of the white, clapboard piece of the house.
Yeah.
That the windows would all be the same.
But what will happen, Roger, is we'll get the next applicant that will say, they'll take pictures of this beautiful home, and they'll say, well, this was approved. But we can't judge it based on, as we discussed, the distance. It is visible from a public way. I mean, that has been our litmus test.
Well,
And even-
leaves on the
and
trees
and
don't
even-
matter.
Yeah, and even during part of the year, our
There are 3 windows on that side of the addition. And that's not going to be, it's easy for me to say, but that's not going to be a financial hardship to
I
put
understand.
the ultimate window in
On
those.
those, if that's what you require. There's
I'm
no,
unclear.
there's a new construction, there's no.
I said that I am okay with that being the integrity because
Okay.
it is blocked so
Okay. You can't
sufficiently
see it from the
blocked.
public way.
Right, it's
And
very
then
hard to see.
similarly-
There's the structure right there.
Yeah.
And then similarly, the west would be,
That is visible from Thaxter. Is the west the rear?
west is the other side,
Oh,
the opposite side.
no, that's visible from north.
Okay, and then we know what you,
I mean, that's this commission.
Those 3 windows you feel should be the ultimate rather than,
I would leave it to your discretion
okay.
as the applicant.
Right.
I don't know how my fellow commission members
I
feel.
understand.
I think Ben's saying the north side that's visible, albeit at a distance from Thaxter Street.
I mean, the way I've listed it on 17, I've listed that as the south elevation. So what we're talking about is the north elevation being the one that's directly, is facing directly back into the woods. So that would then be the west elevation is the one that Ben is talking about in terms of those 3 windows.
On 18, correct. On 18.
Right.
And those are the ones you would leave to the discretion of the applicant.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel comfortable about the A19 elevation. Again, because of our litmus test.
I guess my opinion, I certainly understand your rationale and, your interpretive approach to this, but from our perspective, I think if we have a criteria of seeing it from a public way, either we change the criteria or we adhere to the criteria. And if we adhere to the criteria, then I don't think the integrity windows would be approved. At least I wouldn't vote for it. Your point, Ben, about not being able to see them, then I think it is discretionary.
And 279 North Street, if it were right where your house is now, we would not have approved those windows that they're putting in the rear.
Yeah, and you've got that, I think it's a private way that goes up to the left side.
Burton's.
No, I've stood right on that corner there, and you can't see that facade. So I've walked up and down that private way even, so it's just, that's how that happened. Yeah. So what are we saying here? We're saying these 3 windows on the on A18 are permissible, everything else is not? Is that what we're?
I think that's what I was hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
And the elimination of that one window where your post is, certainly.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with that.
Yes. Okay.
I think if we start breaking down how much you can see from what distance, it's going to mire down future discussions, and it's going to be who can see if you got really good vision, if you don't have good vision, if it's cloudy, if it's sunny. So
We're going to have an ophthalmologist on the commission.
we're going to have to. So I think it's unfortunate, but I don't see any way that we could handle it in a non-arbitrary way down the road, which we can't be arbitrary. So I think it has to be yay or nay, and if you can see it, we have to have jurisdiction, and if we can't see it, then we don't. I can't, and I've been trying to think of any way that we could break it down. I can't see any way that we could do it.
We really should stop wringing our hands over that. It seems pretty clear.
Yeah, and it helps people to understand when they're coming before us what to expect.
If they made that integrity in a wood window, we'd be okay with you using the combination of them. The problem is the material, it's a composite. So it's not the fact that they're two different windows, it's that's a composite window.
Is there another simulated divided light window that you can go with other than an ultimate? That might work for your...
I mean, I can think of some other brands, but I don't know what their price points are, and we're not allowed to, discuss, we're not allowed to just to base our decision on the economics.
And you may want to do the work on that down the road, and we can just approve a simulated divided light wood window here tonight, and it's at your discretion which manufacturer you want to use.
Okay, because that's fine, I think that's what,
So that window is clad over wood.
yeah, but
Yes.
it's a clad finish. which is
Yes,
what
it's a
they're-
clad finish, yeah.
Which,
Yes,
we,
right.
we've had this discussion before about whether it's 2 feet or 200 feet. That's the point that you're making.
We don't discern between those.
So,
Okay.
no, we wanted to,
You can take a look at other wood
Right.
windows then.
but, no, I mean, we wanted to just,
But the creativity of your perspective is appreciated.
if I could freeze dry those leaves on Thaxter.
Okay.
All right.
Are we ready for a motion then on this, on the restoration piece of it and the rest of the application?
Sure. Want me to do this?
Sure.
Everyone's nodding yes.
Go, Ben.
Popular demand.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for 223 North Street. Let's see. Drawings dated, revision date of April 3rd, 2019. A18. The elimination of window in the original volume as indicated, and the 3 windows labeled I at the homeowner's discretion as to material. And then A19, the finding is an all-wood window, wherever indicated with the letter I. A20, all-wood window where indicated with the letter I.
All other windows to be restored as marked.
All other windows to be restored as marked.
Sounds like it covers it.
All in favor?
Second.
Oh, second, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks. We can help you bring these down after the
I
meeting.
was actually gonna, if I could, because I'd like somebody to pick them up tomorrow.
Oh, you do?
Tomorrow
Fine.
morning, so.
We
if
can,
that's-
You want
that's
to put them in the
fine.
office? We can
Right
put them in
here,
the
yeah.
office?
Is that all right?
Okay, if that's all right with you. We'll just put them over there.
All right, thank you for coming in. Sorry for the rain.
Oh, that was was minimal.
What are you saying?
Oh, Roger, don't forget, we're only here till 1 tomorrow. Okay,
Sheila will probably around
okay,
10 or so.
okay, that's fine.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, and thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Okay.
We-
So we have a couple more pieces of business to take care of tonight before we head out?
I think, let's see, we've done the minutes.
Yep.
What we need to do is talk about the election process.
Okay.
And so if you want to do that.
Yep. So, first thing is, Ronnie, I think this is your last meeting, is that correct?
No, I said
No,
it would go
she-
through September.
Okay, all right. Thank goodness, Ronnie, because.
Thank goodness, Ronnie.
Because,
I was about to grab the mic if you were
yeah.
leaving.
All right, so I'll save my Ronnie speech for another month. Okay, that's good. So we need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman, and also someone for the master plan committee. So those three positions. So I've been chair for quite some time now. I think it's probably the right time to make a change in terms of, I think it would be healthy, number one. Number two, I think it's, give somebody else a chance to run the meetings and offer a new perspective. I think it would add a lot of value if we did that. It's been a privilege doing this for the last few years. I've enjoyed every session, every minute of it, and working with all of you. I'm not going anywhere, so I want to stay on, and thank goodness the selectmen have asked me to stay on for another term. So I just want to help out with the transition as we have some some new appointees for these roles. So why don't we talk about nominations?
Sure.
For each of these individual positions. So Virginia's been vice chair for well over a term now. I mean, right? I mean, you've been So thanks to Virginia for helping out and doing all that she does. We don't have anybody doing master plan because that's a new role. So.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But Virginia would be willing to step into the chairmanship. Am I correct?
Yes, with affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and let's see, then we have two people who might consider being vice chair. One is Justin, and the
Yes.
other is Mike Collard, who was unable to be here tonight. And let's see, and then there are three people who have expressed interest in the master plan committee. And that again is Justin, Hans, and Virginia. So those are, that's what we'll be talking about on Tuesday at 6:30. So unfortunately, Virginia won't be able to join us that evening. She has patients in Cambridge who rely on her for their mental health.
I rely on you.
And Andrea, I said I
I'm feeling
could,
better,
and I
too.
had messed up the dates. I can't, I will be away on Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I could call in if you permit that kind of a vote and you need it, but
Put her on speakerphone?
I was looking at the wrong,
Yeah.
done it with other meetings, but I was looking at the wrong week when I said I could do it. Sorry.
All right, then maybe we'll have to look at, maybe we'll have to change that. I don't know. What do you think, Hans?
It would be great if everyone was here. It's the summertime, so people have vacations. They're in and
Yeah.
We're missing Mike and Thomas tonight. As far as the nomination process goes, have they responded for Tuesday? I know.
Mike is available. I haven't heard, I think Thomas is, he's traveling, so that's why he's not here tonight.
Yep. Would it be possible for Ronnie to send an email in terms of who her choices would be at this, or is this something that we need to do, real time?
I would have to check into that.
Is it a secret ballot, or is it?
No?
No.
Hasn't been the past.
No, it hasn't.
Okay, that's,
The other alternative is we'd find another night, where we could do it, but, I think, since Ronnie's Ronnie's an integral part of the team and a voting member.
Nice to have her here.
Yeah, I think she.
Yeah. So why don't we
whether
talk
it's-
about that?
Yeah, so whether it's by email or by,
Let me find out if we're allowed to do that.
or set up another meeting.
yeah, sorry about that.
That's
okay.
all right.
It's all right. No, it's, we're missing two people tonight, so it's just trying to get everybody together to do this is
Yeah.
the challenge.
Yeah.
So, okay. What else?
That's it?
That's it? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, the only thing I wanted to say is that with respect to the master plan committee, I was talking with Mary today, and there's a large group that is the master plan committee, but the opportunity for input is open to everybody. There will be a number of meetings. In fact, Mary was saying that there's been a meeting scheduled to speak about historic preservation. So once I get that date, then it would be great if everyone could be there. We're not just relying on one representative. So we're looking for a lot of perspectives. And then the other thing Justin had raised the question about the scenic views, protection of scenic views, with relationship to a project, a neighborhood project that's been somewhat controversial. And we talked about that at the Historical Commission as well. And there are a number of examples of where towns have adopted a bylaw to protect scenic vistas. And so that is something that if we want to move forward with that, it would be, this committee would prepare the bylaw to submit, but it probably would come through the planning board. So, anyway, so think about that. That's another opportunity to, that would be greatly appreciated. So,
Sounds good.
okay.
Okay, anything else? Good. So we'll have to get, all right, so we were originally thinking about Tuesday. Andrea will send out, you think you could find out tomorrow, or is that gonna,
I'm sorry, say
you
what?
can find out tomorrow on the protocol for,
Oh, yes,
for
I will.
or Monday before?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, I know I'm out later on in the week, so.
yeah.
So,
Well, I think any time before our next meeting,
okay,
you know,
okay, sounds good.
so,
And then it takes effect immediately.
yes,
So, okay.
yeah. So whenever you take the vote is when,
All right, move to adjourn?
so,
Okay. I'd like to conclude the Historic Districts Commission meeting for this evening. Thank you all for listening and watching.
all right. Yay.
Nice job.